basketball episode is?
What?
No one got hurt? Like,
Yeah, they did.
okay, but not in the way that, like, if you play basketball with, like, people from work, I feel like someone's twisting an ankle. At the very least.
Yeah.
That's what... Oh, I guess Stanley
Yeah.
does.
Stanley twists his ankle, and Jim gets smashed in the face.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess they do
so,
show
I mean,
somebody...
that does happen.
I thought Stanley might have been faking it, though.
He might be, but I feel like that would also happen. Somebody would fake that they twisted their ankle so they wouldn't
could
have
get
to
out
keep
of it.
playing.
Yeah, that's
yes.
true. That's true. Hello, everybody, and we are back with another episode of Shelf Life. I'm Kevin.
I'm Rachel.
This is Shelf Life. We are going through The Office, Season 1, here in Volume 2 of Shelf Life.
Volume 2.
For those of you that are just joining us, it's kind of weird because this is the second episode of The Office, so go listen to the first, unless you really
they might not like
don't
those
like
episodes.
those episodes.
They're like, you know what? This is my favorite episode.
Right.
I want to hear you guys talk about
Yeah,
it.
that's fair.
Or,
you know what? That's
or
fair.
I hate this
Hey,
episode.
listener,
Tell me about it.
you do you. You do your thing.
Exactly. You get a choice. You could fast forward through all of this.
Yeah, this is freedom.
It's totally fine.
Don't care.
That's right.
Go ahead. We already got your download.
That's right. Your view already counts. Or your listen.
Yeah,
whatever. It's the same
Doesn't
thing.
matter. I don't know what any of those stats mean, and I don't care. This is a podcast where a brother and sister team go through all things pop culture to determine whether or not the subject at hand belongs on your shelf for posterity reasons. And as we said, we are doing The Office. We are going through The Office Season 1.
Oh, that was obnoxious.
The Office. I want people to feel it. I want them to feel it, Rachel.
What, like that you're Michael Scott talking to them?
Yes.
Because I feel like that's how he would enter a room.
Could you imagine a Michael Scott podcast? Oh my god. It'd be terrible.
He would be like giving advice, like boss advice is what he would call it, and it would be the worst advice.
How I manage.
How I manage.
Yeah. And
wait, that sounds so cute though at the same time.
It's a line from one of the episodes where he says that he's working on a memoir called How I Manage. Wouldn't it just be a podcast? Yeah, actually, I feel like he would have an audience of people that would follow him.
Probably.
Maybe we can get Steve Carell to do that. Make a fake podcast where Michael's retired now and all he does is have a podcast.
For some reason, I don't think he would say no. I think he'd be like, yeah, I'll do a couple episodes. And then,
that's fine.
Yeah, why not?
It's kind of cute. I'll do it.
He just sits in a recording booth and improvises for like a couple hours. He'd be good.
Even if that. It could be like a 10-minute short for all I...
Yeah!
So this is episode 4 of season 1 of The Office, The Alliance. It aired on April 12th, 2005, directed by Brian Gordon, written by Michael Schur, one of the, of course, minds behind The Office. Rachel, The Alliance. What's on tap for us? What are we gonna walk through here?
So there are rumors spreading around the office of downsizing. So Michael decides we need to boost morale with a party. And in the meantime, there is an alliance happening between the two unlikeliest of characters, Jim and Dwight.
That is The Alliance. In The Alliance, and we get to find out a little bit more about the office. I don't know, it's not really politics. Like, Dwight thinks that he's getting a leg up on the office politics, but it's not really what happens.
No.
He's just getting kind of played by Jim.
Right.
So, let's get right into it. The episode has a cold open, if you're watching on Peacock, where Dwight is telling Jim that he has a super great firewall and password protection on his computer, and nobody can get into his computer, but Jim doesn't have anything. And he can't even guess his password. And Jim says, "Is the password Frodo?" And Dwight immediately changes. Yeah. Yeah, and he immediately has to change the password, because of course it was. So then he changes the password.
I like that it's Lord of the Rings stuff, because then it's just easy for me to remember. But, yeah. So he changes it. I mean, honestly, he may as well have, like, add some extra stuff to it.
Yeah, or make it Gollum with like a 0 for the G, or a 0 for the G,
Actually,
a 0
you know
for
what?
the O.
That would confuse people. I think
That
that's
would
perfect.
really confuse people. That's actually a better password. Folks
It
at home, that
is.
is not a password that I use for anything. But if you want to use
As
it,
far as you know.
as far as you know. That's our theme, as far as you know.
Apparently. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is only on his files, but I was like, it's just like, you know, that's a horrible password. And it's like...
Yeah, it's 5 letters long.
You need to have it like 8 characters with capitalization, numbers, symbols. Frodo.
Terrible password. Terrible password. So there's I'm doing Michael Scott again. So there are several scenes in the super fan edit that actually don't come up for the start of the episode, but they explain some stuff that you get later in the episode. There's payoff. So the first scene is Michael going up to Pam and telling Pam that she doesn't have enough enthusiasm when she answers the phone, and that she should have okay. Go ahead, Rachel. Rachel wants to do a Rachel rant. Go ahead.
It is pretty much you need to smile more. You need to...
It is.
Oh.
It is.
Oh. And the
I'll
second,
say...
I will admit that has happened to me. And the second it was said to me, you want to know what I did? I frowned more. Because I was like, are you kidding me?
I think that's what they're getting at with Pam here, too, is that she does not want anything to do with this. I was surprised that they actually called that out in 2005 a little bit of the...
Nah, I'm not surprised. It's still happening to this day.
I know. I'm a little surprised that they were able to call that out. And that is how it comes off to me, too. He's not entirely wrong in the fact that she is the first impression of The Office. So she shouldn't be like totally downtrodden.
Yeah, but I don't think she sounds downtrodden. She's just going Dunder Mifflin, and then that's it. She doesn't have to be like,
right.
Oh, let me be all perky. Dunder Mifflin, how are you? How can I direct your call?
That's exactly what Michael wants it to be.
I know, and it tried. It's just.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to. The second that happened, I was like,
and Pam at least takes it in stride.
She does.
Like she does it. Yeah.
But it also makes me want to. I just want to like. I want to defend her. Like I immediately want to come to her defense.
I felt really bad when she smiled during the phone call, and then she immediately goes back to her usual Pam frowny face afterward because she's like
just a resting face
with herself.
Yeah,
that she did it. We get a little bit of Dwight throwing out stuff in the fridge. And then Jim goes to get his lunch, and he finds out that Dwight threw out his lunch.
Oh, he looks so angry. He's so pissed. Like,
I
mean, so would I.
Furious if somebody threw out my lunch.
See, I'm glad you're angry about that more, and I'm more angry about the smiling.
I
just think it's funny because I had like a rant about the smiling, and now you're like, I would riot if they took my food.
I've never been in the position, I don't think, where someone's told me to smile. Like, why am I upset? I might have, but it's just rolled off my back because it's not a sexist thing.
Yeah, typically you won't get it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's mostly directed towards women because you want them to be smiley and perky and wear heels.
Right. But the idea of someone taking my lunch, like...
No, I think, honestly, that would be infuriating.
And then a little bit of setup for Oscar, where he's got the clipboard of the charity.
You went a little too far for a second, because...
No. Did I? Was there anything after that?
Well, no, it's just the fact that...
Yes, about it.
Yes, well, he comes up to Dwight, and for whatever reason, Dwight is sitting there tapping his bobbleheads.
Yeah, because he's
over and over again, and I'm just like, what is happening? Like, you went and threw out everything from the fridge, and now you're just sitting there tapping bobbleheads. This man is
Jim
insane.
Jim calls him out on that too. He's like,
that's true.
Stop that. He's like, well, if they don't bobble, what's the point?
Which, yeah, I get it, but...
Get it, I guess.
It's just like he's playing an instrument.
I had a coworker that wanted me to bring in the Disney Funko. I had a couple of, like, the Disney Funko Pops on my desk, which are the bobbleheads.
Right.
So she just thought all of them were going to be bobbleheads. So then she would like try to tap it. She was like, this one doesn't bobble, because she liked to come and tap them. And I was like, yeah, they don't all do that.
I guess I understand it, but the crazy man's doing it, so it's like
compulsively for no particular reason.
Yeah,
so then Oscar has, so they set up the cerebral palsy walkathon with the clipboard. Right. Now, folks, we can talk about this now, or we can talk about this later. I've had some coworkers do the Girl Scout cookies or the popcorn. The popcorn that I've gotten from my coworkers actually was really good. I actually looked forward to it the next year when she brought it back. It was like her kids, whatever.
Sure.
And then she quit, so we don't get that anymore. But I feel for everybody being put on the spot. Folks at home, here's a better way. If you have a charity or something, or it's a kids fundraiser, put it on like the bulletin board.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Put it in the lunchroom and let people come to it. Don't do the thing where you're like shoving it under somebody's face, because they're going to have to buy it, because they're going to feel bad saying no. And that's not very, it's a little bit of a breach of the social contract to be doing that.
Sure.
In this man's opinion.
No, I think I understand what you're saying. But I think he also probably wanted to explain it more when he was like talking to each person about it, instead of just putting it out there, because of what happens.
Because he didn't want people to put $25 down and think that was the... Yeah, for sure. That's fair. I'll give you that one, Rachel. I will give you that one.
Because this is a little bit different than like, do you want to order some Girl Scout cookies,
Sure. But I'm giving people some general advice. We might have some young listeners who should be getting their parents' permission to listen to Shelf Life.
I do charity events all the time. I understand.
People in college or are just starting out in their careers, or people that are just starting to have kids that are in that age range, maybe. I'm just telling you, think about, doing it in a more passive way. Okay. Where were we? Okay.
I don't know. We're on the cerebral palsy walkathon.
So anyway, folks, if the audio suddenly changed, it's because I am a professional podcaster and was recording it not through my microphone.
He actually wasn't recording it at all, honestly. I luckily have the recording.
But because we're professional podcasters, we have backups.
Lots and lots of backups.
For those of you that want to start a podcast, make sure to have backups. So anyway, Michael comes out of the bathroom, and Dwight's asking him if he can have immunity from the downsizing. I don't think he actually uses the word immunity yet. He does a little later on. But he asks if he would not be able to be downsized as the assistant regional manager. Assistant to the regional manager. And Michael says there is no downsizing. And he's like, but I asked corporate and they couldn't guarantee anything, but there isn't any downsizing. And Dwight's like, well, should I be worried? And Michael goes, maybe. And then it immediately cuts to Michael saying, so it looks like there's going to be downsizing.
It's because he's not really allowed to talk to the people about it.
Yes, you're not allowed to talk to the people about it. But
right.
He cannot figure out how to say, well, we haven't really decided on anything. Like, it should be pretty generic. We get Michael admitting to the camera that there will be... The difference between him and Donald Trump is that he doesn't like to say, you fired. So
I think there's a lot of differences between him and Donald Trump at this point.
I mean, a little bit. The hairline, maybe.
That's not a difference.
They're both managers of things. Like, I think Donald Trump has like a social media site. Like, I think that's what he's doing now.
Wait, you're kidding? He opened up his own social media site?
Yeah, Shelf Life isn't on it. Oh, you fired. So he says that his catchphrase, because at the time, Donald Trump was not a social media magnate like he is today, of course. He was a game show host. He was a reality TV
just
show
a reality
host,
T-star. That's all.
Which made him qualified for all the jobs that he had after that. Of course.
Apparently,
there was a famous reality TV show that was on NBC at the same time as The Office called The Apprentice, and that's where Donald Trump became famous for a lot of lowbrow people. That's where he got a character and personification enough to have his own social media website like he does now. So that's the reference.
I do like the.
I
music
think most
from
people
that,
know that
I do remember the
reference.
money, money, money.
Oh, great theme song.
Money.
He should have kept that for all of his future endeavors.
Honestly,
if he were to ever do something that would require a theme song or like a
anytime
a
he
campaign
needs
song or something
right.
like that.
Yeah,
that should have been it, or
right.
should be it if he decides to ever do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, he says that Donald Trump just makes people sad. I'm just gonna let that one hang out there, and then he says that his motto would be "You're hired."
Instead of you're fired.
And he would let people work as long as they want, but that's not realistic. He throws that in at the end. We find out that Dwight brings his own water to work, and he doesn't get the gossip.
The water cooler talk.
This is a very subtle line that I really liked when I listened. I heard it and I was like, oh, that's actually a very clever line, because he says most rumors don't come from official memos. They come from the office. Gossip comes from the water cooler.
Right.
And it's very subtle, because it's of course gossip and rumors don't come from official memos, but if you're just listening to it, you're just thinking about the incompetence of Dwight thinking that you have to be at the office cooler. So I like that little double. There's some clever writing in a lot of these Office episodes.
Sure.
But because of this, he brings his own water, and he has this big jug of water, which at the time was a joke. But I've got coworkers that have these giant fucking things of water,
yeah.
that drink a fucking water cooler's worth of water every day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I drink a lot of water too, but you fill your water bottle.
Yeah. But at the time, I don't think that it was as widely.
No, I think people thought it
so
was silly of how people. Look at
how much water he
nowadays.
drank. Yeah.
Everything's changed. It's been a long time.
Yeah, we all wear watches that keep track of our every move and can tell companies and countries, I'm sure, when we're asleep and when we're awake.
I don't care.
Yeah, China, if you want to know if I'm awake or asleep, that's your problem.
I mean, you're kind of know. Just look at the time. Anyways, there was that one woman who disappeared, and they found her by her fitness tracker, by Fitbit.
Yeah.
It was able to find her last couple saved.
Kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but they were able to find her body.
Yeah, I know. But they also can, I don't know.
Well, that's how she tracked her runs, and she was on a run.
Which is fine, yeah, if that's specifically what you were doing, and they could be like, oh, I know how we can do that.
That's how they were able to get it, is because it's synced up.
It's a little Big Brother-y for me. Just
oh my God, Kevin, every
Big
fucking thing you do is Big Brother-y, so get over it.
I know. I am aware. So, because Dwight brings his own water, he moves the water cooler to right next to his desk.
Yes.
And Stanley and Kevin are like, what are you doing? And I love that he says, so what's the office gossip? What's the scuttlebutt? It just, all I could think of was Amy Poehler in Mean Girls, so being like, what's the 411? What's the hot goss? It just him saying, what's the scuttlebutt? Gave me the same vibes
weird.
As that. So Michael, as we said in the synopsis of what the episode is looking up the next birthday to have a morale boost. And we get a drum roll. That's very, very obnoxious.
Oh, it's so obnoxious.
Yes. This is where I thought that he was fatter than usual. He looks fatter here than in future
very
seasons.
Rude.
I'm just saying.
I think he probably has a little bit more weight in this season than he.
I think he looks more youthful. I think he had to lose weight for 40-year-old virgin, actually.
Oh,
I think because he looks younger in 4-year-old virgin than he does in this season.
Yeah.
Which I think again is the way that he's styling his hair and stuff like that.
Right.
And Pam tells him that there isn't one until next month, and it's Meredith.
Right.
And he's like, well, we're still going to go along with it. It'll be a surprise. And then he does an obnoxious thing with Pam because Pam is just can't stand this man.
Right.
And he's trying to do there's no signs of life down here. And he's amusing himself and stuff.
Right. So. And he's calling her a wet blanket and everything. And it's just oh my God, you are that man that I just despise, telling me to smile and that I'm a wet blanket.
Well, because she hates her job. The only thing that gets her through the day is hanging out with Jim and stuff. cut to the party planning committee. Yay! I love the party planning committee.
I was on the party planning committee. I like being on the party. Hey! I was good at that kind of stuff.
So the party planning committee, of course, is Phyllis and Angela and Pam. Pam, Jenna Fisher, has kind of said that her backstory for Pam being on the party planning committee is that Michael just made her be on it. She didn't really want to. That Phyllis and Angela were doing it and she just had to. Yeah. And I love the interaction between the three of them, where Pam just doesn't want to be there, and Angela is so passive-aggressive to Phyllis, and Phyllis is just kind of like a pushover. They have a cut-up apple that they're, like, snacking on.
That's browning.
Yeah, and it's browning. And Phyllis wants streamers, and then they debate on the color, and Angela says she thinks that green is kind of whorish.
Which I thought was interesting. I was like, wow, okay.
Well, and Phyllis is wearing a green cardigan, right? So I wonder if that's why.
And I think because Phyllis wanted green, because that's like probably the color. I think she's mentioned that color multiple times.
Yes. She mentioned it first, so she clearly was like, she wanted green. To go with that, yeah. And I guess there's a cut scene, like totally cut, where Angela or Phil, maybe this is trivia from the podcast that people learned from the podcast. I can't remember. Okay. But apparently there was a take where Phyllis mentions they should say happy birthday surprise, and Angela demeans her and is like, that's stupid, Phyllis. It should be surprise happy birthday. And just like the ridiculousness of like the office politics of like, oh no, we have to have the wording right. Like, who fucking cares? This is a stupid task to begin with. Like, there's a whole why do you know Wisecrack, Rachel?
Yes.
All right, there's a whole Wisecrack video, which I think they go through all of The Office, of course. But they talk about the philosophy behind The Office and behind meaningless work, where you're not doing anything really constructive or productive, but it gives you purpose. And in like late stage capitalism, there's all these jobs that aren't really necessary, but it gives people purpose and it gives people money. So there's like these pointless jobs. It's a good one that they've got on there.
Interesting.
I feel like the party planning committee is kind of one of those things where it's like there's no purpose for this, but it wastes time.
I guess. I mean, if you actually wanted anything fun to happen, though, you kind of have to have people.
You have to have somebody do it.
Do it.
Yeah, and he is actually trying to boost morale. So
yeah, but in a stupid way. They could have just
in a very dumb way.
Something else. They could have had a little pizza party or something. Instead, it's let's do
the
birthday
bowling
that doesn't
thing.
happen.
Do the bowling thing that you came up with in the last episode.
Right. Write it down. Write out your ideas, because otherwise you're going to forget and be an idiot again.
He calls them his party planning biatches.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody says biatch anymore. We should bring that back.
I do not think so.
I think we should bring that back.
Why?
And he says if you haven't gotten cake yet, they should get one of those ice cream cakes. And Angela tells him that Meredith is allergic to dairy.
She can't have dairy. She's like lactose
she
intolerant.
Could not have an ice cream cake. And he's like, yeah, well, she's not the only one that's going to be eating it. And they're like, but it's her birthday.
Right.
And then a moment happens, and I have to dwell on this, Rachel.
Okay. All right. Dwell away.
Because the next line that Michael has, my college roommate and I have said a million times. We would say it to each other for no particular reason. And sometimes we would be like, do you want to go get dessert or something? Because we would say back and forth to each other, and I am going to scream into the microphone.
Wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
So turn down your volume real quick, folks. Mint chocolate chip! I would like some mint chocolate chip.
So weird. It's so weird.
So I was thinking, if you haven't already gotten a cake, maybe going for one of those ice cream cakes from Baskin Robbins. They're very good, very delicious.
Meredith's allergic to dairy, so...
She's not the only one that's going to be eating it, right? And I think everybody likes ice cream cake. It's not That's just about her, so.
It is her
Mint chocolate
birthday.
chip would be good. How about some mint chocolate chip?
We would say mint chocolate chip to each other constantly. For anything. It would just be like, what's your favorite flavor? Mint chocolate chip. I'd like some mint chocolate chip. So no matter what I think about this episode as a whole, it's there.
It holds a place in your heart because of mint chocolate chip.
Special place in my heart because of mint chocolate chip. Total
Mint
nostalgia.
chocolate chip.
Total
holds
nostalgia.
a place.
And here's the thing too. I don't even like mint chocolate chip. I think it's too minty.
I enjoy it.
I have a candle. I have a mint chocolate chip candle that I do like to light, but I don't actually like the taste of mint chocolate chip. So anyway, where the hell were we? Mint chocolate chip. Okay.
Mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip. So Dwight asks Jim to form an alliance because of the downsizing, and they can help each other out. I don't know how they can help each other out, but they can help each other out. And another famous moment here, because they call it back a few seasons from now, where Jim says, "Absolutely, I do."
Do you want to form an alliance with me?
Absolutely, I do.
Good.
Jim spends hours thinking of how to get back at Dwight because
Right.
of how Dwight is. And now here's a way to do it. Just falls in his lap.
Yeah.
I love that Dwight says, keep it a secret. And Jim immediately goes and tells Pam.
Of course.
He just not even wait a second.
No.
And then he tells Pam that he thinks it has something to do with Survivor, or they're going to have like an idol or something. So Survivor is still a thing, but it was bigger
Survivor
back
is still
then.
a thing, yeah.
Yeah, it was way bigger back then, though.
But
I
the creating alliances and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's a big Survivor thing.
Because TV's tried to go back to being a little more classy and like having like actual like plots and television shows, but in the early 2000s, it was nothing but reality TV trash, garbage. Still is. There is still that. There's
a
still
lot
plenty of that.
but-
That's all that Discovery and TLC are, is just garbage like that, which is
Pretty
why
much.
everybody's worried about HBO Max. Dwight confronts Jim and is like, "Did you tell Pam about our alliance?" And Jim says that he's using Pam because who
Right.
knows more about the office than the receptionist?
Exactly.
She hears everything, which is true.
actually very true.
Receptionists do know everything that's going on.
At one point, my best friend was the receptionist.
Yeah,
And
receptionists
I knew
or
everything.
personal assistants.
Yes.
Between the two of those, they know everything.
Yep.
Or administrative assistants? Is that what they? I think it's
It's
administrative
administrative
assistants.
assistants,
Yeah. You all know what, folks. You know what I was talking about. Outdated language.
What did you say?
Personal assistants, which is still a
Same
thing.
fucking thing. It's not like you said something like
Well,
can't even-
administrative
it's not like
assistants.
stewardess versus flight attendant. Like
I
that's
guess
what it felt like.
Secretary.
Secretary.
Would have been the
Secretary.
Jim tells Dwight that that he might have to talk to her a lot, and there may be some giggling, and
All the
he's just gonna have to.
giggling.
Yeah, I like that he calls it giggling. Like he knows that the two of them giggle with each other.
Well, yeah.
That's interesting. It's an interesting self-awareness, I thought, for Jim.
Well, why do you think that?
Because I think giggling implies flirting, and
A
I
little,
think he wants it.
But not all the time.
I guess so.
Like when it's between friends and you're like conniving and like it's like
but
secretive.
I feel like
you
he would have called it
giggle,
laughing. I don't know if he would have called it giggling. I don't know.
guess. No, I see what you mean though. I see what you mean, but I think
Yeah.
he does know he's flirting with Pam.
He knows he's flirting with Pam. Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if he thinks she is or not. I don't know. Again, I'm a terrible flirter. I can never tell when someone's flirting with me. I don't know if I've ever flirted with anyone. It is what it is whenever it comes out of my mouth or my actions. So I don't know because I'm bad at it. Be very blunt with me, folks at home that find me at the bar or on various dating websites. Michael Scott. Mint chocolate chip.
Is that just gonna be like the awkward? Anytime something awkward happens, it's mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip. I'd like some mint chocolate chip. Michael got a card and is looking through the card. because a bunch of other people have signed it. And they say Meredith is an accountant here. Jim signed something about fudging the numbers because she's an accountant, and she's not an accountant. She's in supplier relations. So that is a continuity error. Continuity error. Merp, merp, continuity error. So maybe she changes jobs next season, but of course she's not an accountant.
Maybe she just changes.
But she's not an accountant.
She's not because accounting is in that other
accounting
corner.
sits in the corner. Yeah. So some writer came up with a joke and they liked it, so they kept it in, even though it didn't make any sense.
That's a good. I didn't even catch that. I'm so glad you said it because I didn't even think about it.
He's thinking about trying to come up with something funny because he's like, that'll help morale if I come up with something funny. Again, he thinks more highly of himself and his job than is actually there. Mm-hmm. And the pointlessness of being this like middle management nothing that really doesn't do anything, but he thinks he's like the most important person.
Right.
Jim spies, quote unquote, on Kevin and Toby because Dwight thinks something might be going on, and all he's doing is talking about
sandwiches
with them. I love their bread is very good. The way he says that, it's very good. It's very good. Dwight and Jim meet up after this Jim makes up an entire story about so HR and accounting are making an alliance and that could go against them because they're sales. So Dwight's worried and Jim's like, it's pretty cold out here. I'm going to go inside. Why don't you stay out here though? Because one of us has to stay out to make it look like we're not in the same alliance. And Dwight's like, yes, good idea.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to stay out here even longer. And pretend I'm smoking, and...
Yes, yeah, that's great, too. Oscar comes into Michael's office to ask him to give to the charity. Michael gives him the stink eye at first, and then Oscar tells him, like, do you want to donate? And, of course, because he's got to play for the camera to be the good guy.
Right.
He's like, of course. Oh, and look at all of these small donations. These people don't have any charity. And he gives $25, thinking that that's like the total, not realizing it's per mile that this kid's gonna walk.
Per mile.
That's laid there, but we don't know about that yet. There is a scene where Toby comes in. Michael is trying to figure out what exactly to put in Meredith's card. That's his job for the day. That's his task.
Oh my god, that is all he's doing all day.
Yes. Taking it very seriously to the point where other people keep coming in and saying, can I sign this? Because
he still has it.
Yeah. And at one point Toby comes in to sign the card and Toby kind of chuckles as he writes it, and Michael realizes it's going to be funny,
right? And
he gets mad at Toby and he's like, no, you can't write that. You can't write that, Toby. I had dibs on her being redheaded or something like that.
He probably was saying something about her being like a fiery redhead, like with like that type of attitude or personality or something.
He wants Toby to cross it off. And Toby starts crossing it off, and then he clearly like starts to like doodle where he crossed it off to like just draw a picture instead. And then Michael gets mad again and he's like, no, fine. Get some white out. You ruined it. And then he makes him go get his own white out.
Right.
So
it's so goofy.
Apparently, now, I think Michael doesn't like HR to begin with.
Well, because they take all the fun out of everything.
Right, exactly. But according to the wiki, Paul Lieberstein, according to the wiki, has said, who plays Toby, said this was the moment that Michael realized that he hates Toby.
This is it, right here.
Yes, which it's in a deleted scene, but I think it works too. Like, he's just HR and he sucks the fun out of everything.
Sure.
But him, like, one-upping him, even in something that Michael thinks he's the best at, is where it, like, pushed him over the edge to hate Toby.
It makes sense.
Pam and Jim make Dwight think Pam is taking notes about staff meetings. She, like, comes and runs to Jim to talk about him, and Dwight is pleased with this. And it was all Pam's idea to kind of extend the office prank on him. And Jim starts going off about, like, oh, she's so great. And then he looks around because he realizes what he's doing. And then he realizes that he needs to kind of bring it back to Dwight. So he says, this is where he says, like, if you hear Dwight say the word immunity,
Yes.
let him know. Because that'll make his day. It'll be the greatest day of his life. So, again, Michael is walking around his office trying to figure out a joke or a limerick or something. And he can't come up with anything. And, this is the Toby scene. This is the Toby scene. So that comes after, but whatever. It can be out of order. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
Dwight comes in to the office, and Michael asks Dwight what he knows about Meredith. Dwight gives this ridiculously stupid, like, synopsis, which I can't tell, like, it makes it even creepy to your point where he's like, she's been divorced twice, she has 2 kids, she wants, he's like, no, I want something embarrassing, and he's like, she had a hysterectomy.
I'm sorry.
He thinks about it for a second, like, is that something I could use? And then he's like,
no.
All right, then, yeah.
Well, he asks, like, what was that one? Like, what is the hysterectomy?
Oh, yeah, what is that again?
The uterus.
Yeah.
He's like, no, not like that. Like, he thought it was going to be something funny that he could use.
Yes. And he does say, do I have immunity? And it cuts to Jim being happy because the crew must have told him, like, yeah, immunity. Michael goes to Meredith and asks...
Oh, did you notice, like, in the background?
No, go ahead.
In the background of, like, on Michael's desk, he has weights, but then there's also this, like, mouse family?
Yes. I just noticed that.
I was just wondering, what is that? Like,
I kind of want to know if that
They look
changes.
like carolers or something.
Yeah.
Like from like a
yeah.
Like
it's a very Dickensian mice looking thing. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that and see if it's in other episodes or if it's like one of those things where they change it up.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, because
it's
these
just so
Dickensian
random.
rats are or mice are in the background. I don't know what that is.
Wait, did you... I just saw the sign that said "whistle and I'll fart." I don't understand.
That seems like something that
in this office is. There's so much.
That's got to be something that Michael would have put on a Post-it note, I guess, though, right? It makes some sense, but why is it on a Post-it? I don't know. Very
so
very
random.
bizarre. Michael goes to Meredith and asks about any funny interactions they might have had. And this isn't Meredith yet, as we come to know her. So there's nothing yet. Because I think future seasons Meredith would have come up with...
She probably like is opened up a little bit more. So they probably find out more about her and they're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think
there would have been something about like, oh yeah, remember we woke up like one time in like a ditch or something like that.
Yeah.
And Michael would have been like, that wasn't us. Or something, you know.
She goes, well, what about that one time? And then she
Yeah.
just starts going off on like another tangent. She goes, I don't think that was me either. Oh. I don't know then.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that would have been
that would have been
like,
funny.
Season 3 or 4, like
Yeah.
that would have been like a way to make Michael more competent and Meredith less competent.
Right.
Because like everybody kind of evens out a little bit.
Right.
One of the alliances, according to Jim, is going to meet during the birthday party, and Dwight knows the best place to hide in the warehouse where the meeting is going to take place.
Right.
And Dwight tells the camera that Deer have good vision, but he's better at hiding than they are at vision.
Right.
Very stupid way to say it.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, what are the mice doing? The one's wearing a top hat?
I'm so obsessed with it now. Wait, they change. Now they're boxers. They're boxers. And I think it's like a ring announcer.
Oh, okay. How cute. Folks at home, if you want to get Rachel a gift, recreate that and send it to the Shelf Life P.O. box.
I love it.
There's more and more of Mike trying to figure out what to put in this card. He cannot come up with anything.
He's trying to like rhyme the name with like Dunder Mifflin and
he's juggling the mice at one point.
Yes. Meredith is such a horrible one to go with.
So they end up surprising Meredith. They all have to wear these stupid... I could not imagine working at an office and having to put a party hat on.
Oh, I only ever put those on as a joke.
Yeah, like, can you imagine having to do it at your office?
No.
It would be like
Kind of, but no.
Some offices.
It might have happened.
I love that there's some people in the background that we never know their name. They're clearly the people that end up getting downsized.
Yes. Oh, I never even think about that. You only ever, like, pay attention to the main characters.
Yeah. There's like a few people that either leave or get downsized for sure. They do happy birthday, and Meredith is even like, surprised?
I don't understand. Like, she thought it was for Angela, and then Angela's like, no, it's for you. And she's like, my birthday's next month. Like,
yeah. Meanwhile, Jim is packaging Dwight.
Yes,
in this box.
Like,
And
taping it up and everything.
Dwight insists on it, so he does it.
Can I trust Jim? I don't know. Do I have a choice? No. Frankly, I don't. Will I trust Jim? Yes. Should I trust Jim? You tell me.
And Jim just tapes up this box and leaves.
Right. I mean, yeah, I guess that's, like, their plan. So it makes
that's what
sense.
they said the plan was. It's what
he said you
supposed to
can't
do.
stay here. You have to leave.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
So, all right.
The office is enjoying the cake,
Yep.
although they have to wear these stupid hats. Funny thing about this was there had to be a bunch of takes for this, right?
I
So
would think.
Steve Carell had to just keep downing this cake, and they all said he got, like, sick. He, like, felt like crap because he kept eating it. And he keeps taking, like, chunk after chunk, so he had to just keep taking these bites. So they said they, like, were all, like, sick because they had to keep eating this cake. So Meredith probably got off a little bit scot-free because she didn't have to eat any.
You know, if she wasn't lactose intolerant and liked that, though, she probably was, like, sneaking it in the background.
That's true.
I
Good
would
point.
be.
Yeah. But she didn't have to keep constantly, like,
Pretending
eating the
to
cake.
Eat it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a good spot, though, with Phyllis and...
About the streamers?
Yes.
Go ahead,
During
go
this,
ahead.
while they're eating. I love this. They're standing together, and they're eating the cake. Angela says the red streamers were the right choice, like the perfect choice. And Phyllis is just like, they're just okay. And it just goes back and forth like that. And I just love that like silent, like
that passive aggressive.
Oh, that passive aggressiveness between each other.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
We get Michael being obnoxious to a bunch of other people, and then he tells Meredith that he tries to get Meredith to eat the cake. And she's like, I can't. And he's like, oh, like, if I was allergic to dairy, I'd kill myself.
Yeah, that was so like, nuts.
Homer has a little hat on, too.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I like that. I wonder if he does that. He's just like, it's just so good, because he already feels sick from eating it.
Yeah. Yeah, because who knows how many pieces of cake he had to swallow. Because, like, he's taking these giant chunks.
He could, like, spit it out.
Yeah, you could just spit it out. But it's Steve Carell. He feels like he has to be, like, in the moment.
You're right.
Where was I? Oh. Jim tells Pam to go down and fake the phone call because Dwight's in a box down there. So she does, and clearly the box is moving around.
Right.
And
it's like trying to dig a hole.
And then the box tips over and she can't handle it
and
anymore, so she just walks away. Yeah, like Dwight thinks that he's hiding from anybody.
Right.
Jim tells Michael about the money, and he's like, "Well, you know, money isn't the key to happiness, Jim. You know what is? Joy." And
so stupid.
Jim tells Michael, like, "Well, no, it's going to be like $500 or something because, you know, it's going to end up being $50 for Jim."
Right.
And Michael talks to Oscar about it, and Oscar tells him that it says it right on the sheet, and he thinks it's kind of cheap to undonate to a charity. And Michael...
I would... See, now that's where I think he's wrong.
Michael's got a point.
I feel like he's in the wrong at that point because he could have said, like, I didn't realize you didn't understand.
I didn't realize
you want
that.
to lower it so it makes more sense for you because if,
I agree.
Like, I feel like it's really rude that he's just like, I think it's wrong of you to change this. And it's like, all right, look, I know you don't like your boss, but maybe
yes.
went a little far.
It does come a little bit to like, yeah, them just being like, no, fuck this guy.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, I think he probably could have been like, all right, do you want to cut it back to like $10 or something?
Yeah, well, can we do like 10, like 5, like
yeah.
what actually works?
Yeah,
like
all
that's
right,
cool.
I got it. Yeah,
I understand that you thought wrong.
Yeah. And while they're talking about this, Michael asks him, how many miles did your nephew do last year? And he goes,
Yes.
he did 18 miles. And Michael goes, son of a bitch.
Yes.
Just the way that he says
The way
son
he
of a
says it.
bitch is
Yes.
so good.
That is good. I like that one.
Michael asked Meredith to read all the notes aloud because they got her the card. And like, how embarrassing would this be if you were just one of the other employees to have your note read aloud to everybody? It's so ridiculous.
It's a little weird.
It's a little much. They give the little jokes on the card. It's just normal stuff. And as they're telling him, Michael is besmirching all of it. He's just like, oh, like, that's not good.
Right.
He's such an obnoxious boss. He's like belittling his
mean.
employees. And Michael mentions downsizing in his joke because the joke is hopefully the only thing that gets downsized is your age.
Which doesn't even make any sense.
And it doesn't even make any sense. And it brings the room down.
Oh my god, of course it does. Because it's like, wait, are you trying to say that that's actually happening?
Everybody's bummed out about it. There is a little bit of extra context in the deleted scene or in the superfan cut because Michael tries to make a joke about the hysterectomy.
Oh my god, yeah, he starts just like...
Yeah, he tries coming up with anything that might work. And that goes too far because, like, Meredith starts getting upset.
Yes!
And then he blames the party planning committee. And Angela says, like, oh yeah, well, the streamers were Phyllis's idea.
Yes!
And Phyllis, I love Phyllis
God,
here.
yes!
Because she's like, oh, jeez, oh boy. Like she's like, you
I kind of
really
wish
are
she
a
just went
piece
like,
of
oh, you
work.
bitch. I just
Yeah.
really wanted her to say it. I was like, come on!
But there is a little, like, interaction between Pam and Jim at this point, too, where Pam is whispering to Jim, not very subtly either.
No, well, she wasn't trying to be subtle. She was trying to be
No.
obvious.
Where she's like, you should smile.
smile.
You should smile,
Smile.
Michael. Smile, Michael. Yeah. I like that it calls it back from the beginning.
I do.
understand why both of them were cut from the television edit,
Yeah.
but it's a nice callback to what Michael was doing at the beginning, because Michael actually gets a little bit of comeuppance
Yes.
here.
He deserves
But again-
the comeuppance.
But it's just embarrassment. Like, it's just, I can deal with season 1 cringe. It's further down the line where it gets a little like
it becomes too
cringe
much.
gets a little too much. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the times with cringy stuff, it's overbearing. Like, I can't do that.
He wasn't going to flaunt the money that he was donating to charity, but he made a sizable donation to Oscar's nephew's charity, and he writes a check for half the money.
Right.
and he applauds himself. He tells a story to the camera about donating to a hospital anonymously, and he'll tell somebody that he donated that hospital because he is Michael Scott.
Right.
He has those delusions of grandeur of, like, how rich he's going to be working as Michael
As the
Scott.
manager of a paper company.
Mm-hmm. It turns out, I like this little twist, that it is Ryan's birthday.
Yes, but he didn't want to tell anybody.
But he doesn't, and Toby's like, oh, do you want me to say something? And he's like, no.
No.
Yeah.
Which is, like, understandable. He's like, I got the cake.
Yes.
You can pretend
I got
this
cake.
is my party, but nobody
knows.
And
Yeah.
that's how I want it to be.
It goes to Jim excitingly up to Pam to tell her that he convinced Dwight to spy on the other branch.
Yes.
But not only does he have to spy on the other branch, he convinced him that he needs to go undercover and dye his hair, which is, it kind of comes back in a few seasons. They actually do this, but it's a good little gag. They end up, just because of, like, how they're positioned, and because they're both, like, laughing hysterically about it.
Yeah, like, he's, like, falling over and he's trying to whisper to her, but it's, like, hard to whisper because they're laughing, and
They end up kind of grabbing hands, and they're laughing as they do it. And Roy happens to come inside at the same time.
yes.
and he gets super pissed
Oh my
about
God.
this. Like, I thought a little, like, he knows the relationship that Jim and Pam have as, like, friends.
Right.
So it's a little over the top, I thought. Like, he gets, like, super confrontational.
Well, yeah, because he's just like, were you trying to cop a feel? And, like, gets up on top of him. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it
Back
wasn't...
off.
It wasn't that much.
No. And I feel like Jim didn't even have to explain it the way he did. He just had to say, we were laughing about something
Yeah,
that happened
we were making
today.
a joke.
Big deal.
I was doing an office prank. Because Jim completely comes clean and is like, well,
Yeah, he completely comes clean. He didn't have to say,
Well,
all he
'cause
had to do was, I did an office prank.
Because he panics. He
Yeah, he
totally
panicked.
panics. Because he knows his feelings, so it's not like Roy's
In the
wrong.
completely wrong.
But
But he wasn't doing what Roy thought he was doing.
Right.
Which is where I'm at, where it's like,
Yes.
calm the fuck down.
Yes. And Roy asks Dwight to verify this story, and Dwight, being Dwight, is like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Right.
I do love, and this happens a few times during The Office, Kevin stands up to defend Jim.
Yes. He got up like, if there's going to be a fight, I'm going to stop it.
And that comes back up later in the seasons too, because he actually says he would defend Jim, and then he like...
Well, because
we'll
Jim is actually nice to him. Like,
we'll get there
legitimately nice
eventually.
to him.
Yeah, I think they like play poker and stuff together sometimes. There's an episode down the line where Kevin says he has Jim's back if Roy gets mad at him again.
I like
and
that.
then at the end of the episode, Kevin's like, I'm glad that they didn't come to fight because I was not going to be good at it or something like that. Like he was willing
Like,
to
he
do
wasn't
it, but he
ready.
was like, oh shit, I'm going to get
Like,
my
I'm
ass
actually
kicked.
going to have to do it.
Yeah. Cut. Immediate cut then to Dwight wearing this horrible blonde wig. He looks like future episode Ponyboy. He looks like it's like when Ponyboy dyes his hair blonde
it's so
in a
bad.
future subject for us. It's so bad. Dwight basically says that he didn't really have an alliance with Jim. He wanted Jim to think he had an alliance with Jim, and then he stabbed Jim in the back right at the perfect time.
Right.
And as he's saying this,
he's like, this is how
Jim
you
walks
learn
in.
something. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
As he's saying it, Jim walks in and is like, I'm sorry, what? So he gets to, embarrass Dwight. a
Right.
little bit,
Again,
obviously.
because, like, oh my God.
And that's the end of the Alliance. Rachel, what did you think of the Alliance?
I'm trying to think. Like, every time
That's
you
kind of what I
always do
think.
this
That's
to
kind of
me.
what. That's kind of what I think of the Alliance too. I've got it. It's more pedestrian. It's a kind of a pedestrian, like their episode. Nothing crazy happens or
No,
worthwhile.
nothing too crazy happens.
Michael's an idiot.
Michael
Jim
is
and
definitely
Pam
an idiot.
flirt. It's crueler than healthcare.
Yes.
It's meaner.
I think
than
that's
healthcare.
a good way of describing it, is that there's more cruelty and like meaner stuff
Yeah.
happening in this one.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit cringier
Yes.
because of those things.
Yeah, and I wonder
You're just
if
like,
that's why
did it go too far? Did it go too far? Like,
I always kind of come back to this one. Or I always think oh, it's that one when I think about this episode
okay.
a little bit. Yeah, it's not my favorite. I
Sure.
would say, you know.
yeah. No, I agree.
It still has its moments. No matter what I think about it, it has mint chocolate chip, so I can't be
chocolate chip.
too bad about it. But
No, but again, the overall episode itself, it's kind of like eh. But there's always like those one-liners or something like that you can pull from things, even if
Yeah.
you don't like it.
absolutely. So that is the Alliance. So, with that being said, we're going to hop over to the next conference room to get to the next meeting, where we will talk about another episode of The Office, but meanwhile, we're just going to take a short break. Mint chocolate chip! I'm going to go get myself some mint chocolate chip.
Okay, listen, this is just going to be a friendly game, right? We are all on the same team here, the Dunder Mifflin team. Of course, if you beat us, you're fired. That's a joke. Okay, let's do it.
And the next episode that we are covering here is episode 5 of The Office season 1.
Basketball.
Yes, thank you, Rachel.
Sorry.
Yes. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Undercut me.
I was just like basketball.
Yes,
It's the episode.
Basketball. Aired on April 19th, 2005, written and directed by Greg Daniels. The first one that he wrote and directed for the show. Rachel, what happens in Basketball?
Very simply put, the office and the warehouse go head to head playing basketball. That's it. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is a very simple premise, and I do think this is one where you get a lot of... I wonder if it's because there's a lot of kinetic energy going on. It feels a lot more energetic than the first several... maybe other than Diversity Day. But it feels very energetic for the first season. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff going on. There's like little things that like happen all over the place quickly. So maybe that is why it feels more energetic.
Greg Daniels, of course, helps to make The Office for the U.S. So this is the first one that he directed and wrote. Think that they just wanted to do something that was a little bit more, for lack of a better term, American. This is one that does not happen in the British show. So, I mean, you could see that. Like, they're not going to play basketball necessarily in the UK.
Would they play, like, lacrosse or something?
You think that's...
See, like I
no,
kind
it
of...
would be
if
soccer,
if
wouldn't
it did exist. Football.
Okay, whatever. I
Well,
live on this
I
side of
could
the pond.
see
Thank you.
Rugby, lacrosse, football/soccer... You know,
Yeah.
something like that.
That's a good question. I don't know if there is an equivalent in the UK version, and I did not look it up, so I do not know.
I was just curious. I'm like, okay, do they have a sport episode? Because that would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because then it would be funny to see, like, the equivalent.
So, should we get right into basketball? I guess I could say...
Yeah, let's go.
I'll say this before we start, because I was like, should I say it at the end of the episode, or should I say this at the beginning of the episode? But I'll say this now. This was the episode, like I said, I did not watch these when they debuted. I watched them way afterward and got the DVD way afterward. But this was the episode that I used to try to convince my friends to watch The Office.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was my attempt at having a gateway for the show for everybody else, was basketball. I don't know what that means, but it could mean favorable to the show, I think, or to this episode.
I would think it's favorable to the show in a broader sense, that this actually kind of displays more of what you like about it as a whole, because there might be, I mean, obviously this is the first season, so there's going to be kind of flops, there's going to be some that are really good, et cetera, et cetera. That's like with the first season of most things.
Right.
And I think what you're seeing is probably the characters show themselves a lot in this one. Maybe like the plot feels a bit more like what they usually do, like with the Office, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's why you must have showed them this one. Plus, it's got sports.
Yeah, it's got sports in it. We
sports.
were like 17 or whatever.
Office,
yeah,
sports.
Yeah. So let us begin. Let's go through the show here. So Michael comes in and asks, "Oh, you get da da do 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 do." Okay,
yeah.
So then Michael comes in and asks his team if they have their bags, and Jim holds up a what would you call it? Duffel bag. Ryan has a sack. It looks like a garbage bag.
I think it's just a garbage bag.
And then Dwight is brown-nosing, and he also has his duffel bag with him, to which Michael kind of chagrins at.
Just ignores. Yeah.
And we learn that they are playing a friendly game of basketball at lunch. Michael plays every weekend, which I was like, yeah, I'm sure you do, Michael. But he saw that they had basketball hoops down in the warehouse. I almost called it the factory. Down in the warehouse, and thought that it would be a morale booster to play some basketball with the folks in the warehouse.
Which, I mean, honestly, that the idea of, like, yeah, bring everybody together, give them something to do together. Yeah, it's a nice idea.
It's a fine
'cause
idea.
A lot of times you're separated.
Yeah.
Right. The way he goes about it and the things he says, he's an idiot. But yeah.
I've done this at work too. It's not a
same.
bad idea. It's just, yeah, he's doing it to win. I don't know what his purpose.
He's like showboaty.
Yeah. I can't tell.
I think
what
is
his
what
goal
it is. But he doesn't really have anything to showboat but he wants to be like the best and the winner. And
I can't tell if it's hard to tell throughout this entire episode if he has an overinflated sense of how good he is at basketball, or if he knows he's bad at basketball, but he's trying to cover it up.
I think this is just. I feel like it's more so the inflated, yes, I'm really good at this, but then he's playing with them and he realizes, oh, maybe I'm not good at this, and maybe the other people I play with, if he even does play with other people, aren't as good as, like, these guys too. Like, these guys, I think, yeah, they play. They know what they're doing in a good sense.
And there's some big guys.
I have a feeling he plays
both
with
sides.
a group that's like...
Yeah. So he talks about how...
Yeah, there's bigger guys that are like, that probably do play.
Yeah. He talks about how he went down there and there were he started just shooting hoops down there and he starts sinking them, nothing but net. And their
none of that happened.
Jaws just dropped. African Americans.
What is that? I'm like, of course, you would streamline to the stereotype. Streamline straight to it.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
because
that's all he knows. There's a little bit
that
of
is all he knows. Stereotype of everything.
Those jokes are pretty good though in the episode where he thinks
I
Stanley's going to be his
I
secret
do love
weapon.
their responses.
Yeah.
Yes, their responses to it is just like,
yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
He gets some messages and Dwight wants to be on the team. It felt like Jim was trying to make fun of Michael having pleated pants, but it didn't go like totally into that. And then Dwight just wants to be on the team. And,
yeah, the joke started, but then it didn't get.
Yeah, it didn't continue. So Michael says that he can't because based on past behavior, where he vouched for him in front of Todd Packer. Dwight, Todd Packer. We'll learn later that Todd Packer is like Michael's best friend.
He's a hoot.
I do not see
a hoot and a half.
I do not see Todd Packer playing basketball.
I can.
You do.
I can see him playing like an ass. Like, I could see them actually playing together and both thinking they're amazing and both being horrible.
All right, I'll give you that.
Like, going 3-pointer, and then, like, it goes nowhere. Like, it goes completely out of bounds. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I will give the television cut more than the extended cut here, because in the television cut, you never find out what Dwight did at the pickup game that caused Michael to be so mad at him. But in the extended cut, they do a testimonial with Dwight where he says that Michael was open on a few passes and he didn't pass it to him. Or Michael threw him the ball and he missed the passes or something like that. And I just thought it wasn't as satisfying as having something in your imagination.
That elusive, mysterious type of story that we want to know what it is, but they never tell us. I love that. I like it when it's kind of like just hinted at, but you never know what it actually is.
It's better, especially when you see what Dwight's behavior is actually on the court. Like, you can kind of imagine that he did something similar at the pickup game that would have, like, embarrassed Michael. I love the little moment where Dwight starts playing with some toy on Michael's desk and Michael takes it and, like, puts it on, he takes it away from him. So he
just
can't
takes it away from him, yeah.
And,
like, no, you don't get to play with this.
This line quoted a lot by myself and my college roommate. I don't know why, and I don't even remember what context. There's a lot of quotes in this one that I will say that we did a lot.
Of course.
This one, though, I can't even think of what the context was that we said it in, but the hand strikes and gives a flower. We used to say a lot, and I don't understand why.
Probably because it's such a weird thing. It doesn't really make any sense.
But even,
you could,
even
like,
the
say
hand
it for everything.
motion, of striking on the shoulder, yeah. So he tells Dwight that he will not play basketball, but someone needs to take over the holiday and weekend work calendar because corporate wants people to be there on Saturdays. I can't tell if just to to bring up productivity or what.
Yeah.
But I guess
I can't really tell, like, is it just this Saturday or is it every Saturday?
It seemed like it was
'Cause,
every
like,
Saturday. Which
like,
I think it's just supposed to be
a month, because good lord,
I think it's supposed to just be like this
6 days a week.
Yeah, it's supposed to be that Dunder Mifflin's kind of a shitty place to work. It's still that first season they're a shitty company.
I mean, I feel like they just always are. Aren't they just?
I think they always are, yeah. But Michael, of course,
it's one of those weird companies that stays afloat somehow, but they're still like dumping water, and they're still taking on water constantly, but they're still floating. They're fine.
Yeah, they have
they're surviving.
They have a lot of debt, but they never make money. But they're somehow just always kind of there.
Tape on it.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's no big deal.
So Michael doesn't want to deal with it, so he gives it to Dwight. There's a cut.
Of course, Dwight's like, yes.
Of course.
Anything
that Michael gives him, he's going to be up for. There's a cut scene in the super edit where I don't know if this is ever a thing. And Rachel, maybe you can tell me if this is a thing. Maybe this is a regional thing. I don't know what the hell they were doing here. I thought this was gross. So Pam is fixing part of her desk with Elmer's glue.
Which is not going to work. You need like some wood glue or
yeah,
some, like,
it was not. That's not
going
to work. Jim comes up to the desk to flirt with her, as he does, and he takes the glue and he just pours.
He puts it on like hand sanitizer. He puts it on like hand sanitizer,
but a lot,
or a lotion.
Like not even a little bit of it, like a ton, and he just starts meshing it between his hands. And they talk about how they used to do this as kids where they would peel it off and it would make, like, a glue hand. Is this a thing? Did I miss this?
I mean, I have no idea. I never did this. Here's the thing. Like, I would get glue on my hands and it would dry and you'd peel it off. But I never would, like, intentionally put it all over my hand to make a glue hand. It would just happen to be on my hand and it was kind of fun to peel off the glue after it dried. That's about it for me. I didn't eat glue. I didn't make glue hands. So I was the weird kid, maybe.
Well, eating glue is a whole different conversation. I just want to know, folks at home, was this a thing? Did you do this? Because Pam and Jim immediately act like, yes, they know what this is. And granted, they're older than we are, so maybe it's a generational thing. But I'm like, is this...
Maybe it's just that minor gap of some years.
Is this something that is done in Pennsylvania? Like, somebody's got to tell me what's going on.
Tell me what's happening.
But Pam gets a call from Roy's mom while they're... And I guess it's supposed to be like a thing where, like, maybe Jim's getting a little... he's getting a little hot and bothered because she's blowing on his hands to help it dry so that they can peel it off. Roy's mom calls her... And she has to take the call. So Jim has to just kind of walk away. and then...
Yeah, he's really awkward at that point because he's like he figured the call was going to be quick. So he's like, okay, then we can get back to the weird glue hand thing. But then he's like, I got to just walk away because they're not stopping. And it's the mother-in-law.
Yeah, it's a little... I'm going to throw it out there. It's not like I haven't done something explicitly only to talk to the girl. And then had to be like, okay, this isn't working. I'm just going to stop. So I'm there. I'm with Jim on this. I understand.
Just awkwardly walk away.
But it looks so pathetic to see it happen.
It is a little, it's a little cringy. It's
very sad.
It's a little sad. It's like, sad.
Yeah.
Ooh, weird. Because now you have glue hands.
So
like,
sorry. Oh, that's gross. Sorry. Dwight at this time starts to figure out the schedule. And the tie flip from the opening credits is in this scene. He flips the tie back so that he can get to business of making people work on Saturdays.
Gotta get that tie out of the way.
He's like scheduling out. I don't even understand how this works. He's got a grid going on this whiteboard that I don't even think he understands how it works. But I think it's supposed to schedule out when like everybody's gonna what Saturdays everybody's gonna work on. And clearly the power has gone to Dwight's head because he gets to decide when people are coming in on Saturday.
No, I was just going to say, I find it odd that it's like he has to make this entire grid system for it when it's like they're not, as far as I can tell, they're not hourly? Like, okay, you're gonna come in from like the morning shift, and here's like the afternoon shift, and like
No, my guess
here's
is
the night shift.
I'm guessing
It's just, but that's why it like seemed weird. That's like, here's this whole grid system that I'm gonna use to like figure out who gets which Saturdays, and
I think the
it just felt
x-axis is
odd.
everyone in the office, and
Yeah.
the y-axis, I don't know. Is it like
That's
is
what
it
I
like
mean.
the 5
like,
weekends?
I've had to do stuff like with like jobs in like college and stuff where it was hourly, and it's like, okay, well, you have to take these couple of hours, and then this person has to take these couple of hours, and you had to like pretty much grid that out to make sure nobody's getting too much and too little, right? This doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I kind of want to
Because I
know
would have
if
thought that was the times on the left, and it's like, no.
I kind of want to know if somebody has taken like a screenshot of this chart and tried to figure out what the hell Dwight is doing with it, because it does not.
I hope
make a
it's
lot of
literally
sense.
nothing.
I'm sure it is, but I hope
It's just to make it look like he's doing something.
yeah.
He's important.
Yes,
I have a whiteboard.
I have a whiteboard. I used to have a whiteboard at work. I don't anymore. I took it away. So I do like the little moment where Jim is trying to make Dwight feel like he shouldn't let the power go to his head, and he says, "Phyllis, can you believe this?" And Phyllis just goes, "Just leave me out of it." Like she doesn't want anything to do with it.
Don't bring me into this.
Probably
Like,
because she's worried that if she takes Jim's side, Dwight's gonna put her on more Saturdays.
put her on Saturday.
Yeah, so like,
and she's
I'm
like,
not gonna deal
no,
with it.
do not add me into this.
So then we go to the whore house, as Michael calls the warehouse for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
What? What's wrong with that, Rachel?
nothing. It's Michael Scott, and he just makes me
If I
sigh.
ever become in charge of an entire office, this is how I'm gonna act. With the slick
God, I
back
hope
greased
not.
hair, the pleated pants that are...
I mean,
his
obviously,
pants are
ironically,
too
you're doing
big.
this.
Yeah.
He's doing this because that's who he is,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, his pants are way too big.
Yeah.
Like, they're baggy.
And
They poof.
I think that might have also been why Jim was making fun of it earlier, but...
Yeah,
So-
because there's like so many pleats and then the poof.
So Michael takes Ryan down to meet the warehouse guys, and we meet Mita Rajas, also known as. So this was also I have to point out when we get to these moments that are just ingrained in my head forever.
I do love Daryl. Daryl's
my
pretty
college
great.
roommate would do this constantly. Would just do this little monologue by Daryl about Daryl Rogers is what Ryan thinks, because why else would Michael call it Mr. Rogers' neighborhood?
And here we have Mita Raja's neighborhood. Come on over here. Hey, this is Ryan. He's temping upstairs.
What's up?
And this is the foreman, Mita Rajas.
It's not my real name.
No, it's Daryl. Daryl is Mita Rajas.
Daryl Rogers.
Dale Philbin, then Regis, then Reg, then Roger, then Mita Rogers.
Good God.
It's so good, and you can see how Michael, like an idiot, would just.
He thinks, because he's even like mouthing it too. So it's like he thinks it's like funny because he's like, yeah, that's how I got to it. Yeah. Like, haha, you had great names I came up with for you, and he's like, yeah. I love Daryl. That's how I feel.
Daryl Philbin, played by Craig Robinson, very, very funny man. But in The Office, he almost plays more the straight man. You know what I mean? He plays the most level-headed, just kind of...
But that's why I love it. Because he's just like, oh my God, I have to deal with this shit again.
Yeah.
And it's like... That's why I love it, because he's just so, like, oh God, on that level.
And then the other members of the warehouse staff, another extremely funny comedian, Lonnie, played by Patrice O'Neill. Patrice O'Neill died.
Oh,
It
really?
would have, which stinks, because he died in 2011, and I can't remember how many appearances he makes on The Office, but he's more known for his stand-up, for sure. I wish he would have made more appearances as Lonnie, because I think this is pretty good.
And then there's
And then, of course,
Pam's fiance.
Roy, who has made other appearances, but I love that Michael thinks that he's like... building rapport by talking about how he asks Roy if he's still getting it regular, and then he
Yep.
can tell Pam that it's part of the job.
It's so gross. It's so gross. It's so gross. I'm sorry, but God,
Well, he's
Michael
just
Scott is
he's
gross
just
to
an
me.
ass, and he just thinks that he thinks in his mind.
I know, he
is
thinks
what
this
he
is
should
cool.
be doing. He's just
Yeah.
But I mean, and I'm sure I don't know if I've ever had someone at work or a boss in particular
God, I would hope
this
not.
bad, but I'm sure that they're out there. Folks at home, do you have a Michael Scott that would do something like this? There's a scene where Kevin tries to tell Dwight he cannot work this Saturday because he's in a band. He's in a
Right.
Steve
I
Miller
love
tribute
Kevin,
band. So he changes from being in the Steve Miller tribute band, as he says here, to being in the police tribute band. Isn't it? Doesn't he?
My assumption is it's the same band. They
Just
changed
changed what they
they're
wanted to
playing.
play, for sure. Dwight's reaction to get me a tape of the Steve Miller band and your band, and we'll talk. I also like when he says I'm in a band, and Kevin says I'm in a band, and Dwight goes, marching or garage? That's a good
No, it's a good line.
yeah,
that's a good,
really
line.
good line.
Is it marching or garage?
And
Garage.
and the look on Dwight's face when Kevin's done and he goes, that is all, is such like a shitty toady looking thing of just wanting this power and having this power.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Pam's toaster is broke. Her toaster oven has broken, that she got from her engagement party 3 years ago. So she cannot, so she can't take it back. So she's upset about that.
I mean, okay, look. I've heard of people who are engaged forever and they never get married. I've had
Yeah,
people
it's
who
fine.
get
You
engaged
don't
and
have
get
to.
married like in a month.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to. But it feels like they're so mean to them about it.
I think the problem is this is not a mutually agreed upon, we're not going to get
Engagement.
married or we are going to get married. If
True.
that was the case and it was two people that were just like, yeah, we just don't want it, like we're not going to deal with it. We're not going to deal with getting married. Or like, you know, our friends have done, Rachel, where it's like, yeah, we're going to get married. We're just going to the fucking courthouse. Like, to hell with it.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
This is, she wants to set the date and he doesn't.
That's true. That's true.
So it's a
and it just keeps
different-
getting pushed and pushed and
Yes.
pushed and pushed and pushed, and then it just feels awkward because she keeps saying, no, we're going to because she wants
Right.
to. Okay,
And-
yeah, I see why they're kind of like making
Yeah.
fun of her. It just at this point, it's like, oh come on,
And I
it's
could
like, not
also
a big deal,
see,
but it's like, no, it is.
even if she was okay with it, and even if she was okay with it, she has to deal with people always asking about it, and instead of
Right.
and it being Pam, and this is Pam in her most mousy. I don't know if there's like a good, her most timid. Timid's probably a better word for Pam. That she's just not willing to kind of stand up for herself and be like, oh, you know, if it happens, it happens. Like, who cares? We're happy. Like, she
Right.
won't say that. She feels like she has to put on the front of like, well, one day we are going to get married.
Right. Well, because I think she wants to, but I think she's just questioning him at this point, considering he won't get on her level with everything.
I don't think she's questioning him yet. Not in
You
the
don't?
no, not in the arc. I don't think. I mean, maybe it's always like subconsciously she is.
I think it's subconscious. I think it's just like subtle. You can kind of see subtle.
Well, I'll bring up
thoughts
a
go through
subtle
her
I'll bring up a
mind.
subtle point later. That happens.
Okay, all right.
Michael asks Daryl if they're still on to play the game, and Daryl says they can't because there's a truck coming in during the afternoon, so they're busy. And Michael says it can't be too busy because whenever he's down there, nobody's ever working. And it's like, it's half almost because it's like, yeah, because you're here, Michael. Like, we can't work because you're here.
Right, because you're bothering us at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You're also not working because you're down here.
Well, but
It's another
he
thought.
is supposed to manage the warehouse too, so he
Is
should.
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
like, Daryl is
whatever. He's just doing his walk.
Daryl is the foreman, but it's still his shipments and stuff, so he should
Yeah.
be in an actual real life place. The Michael role would be meeting with the Daryl role all the time, so that they could,
Oh yeah.
you know, do inventory and be looking at
Right.
shipments. But Michael's an idiot, so he doesn't understand any of that stuff.
Yes.
So Michael,
That's correct.
Michael makes chicken noises And Daryl says, all right, fine, we'll play right after the shipment goes out. So
Wait. Did we want to finish the Pam talk? I don't think you finished the Pam talk about her toaster oven. We just kind of talked about Pam.
What's the end of it? Because I don't have that in my notes.
Oh, I thought we were saving money for the wedding, but apparently Roy thought it was important to buy 2 wave runners.
Yeah, you should. I guess you should bring that up because the whole point of Pam's arc in the weekend, or having to work the weekend, is that Roy wants to take the wave runners out to the lake.
Yeah, because he bought these wave runners instead of, doing anything for the wedding or for them. It's like, here's these wave runners, and then she doesn't even get to use it. The brother or the friend?
It. No, it's the brother.
The brother uses it. So it wasn't even for her. So it's not even for the relationship at all. So he's just like, no, I'm just going to spend frivolous money instead of doing anything for us. How does she not get annoyed?
Because it's Pam. She's at this point she's more of a pushover to Roy and even Michael.
Yeah.
Her character arc grows as the series progresses.
True.
Which is a nice part. Pam gets a good
she
character
actually
arc.
Has
yeah,
growth.
Yeah, she does have growth. There's a cutaway with Michael doing a bit about Allen Iverson. So there's like a conversation that him and the warehouse guys have about Allen Iverson, and then he does a bit about what his nickname would be, or what his basketball nickname would be, and he wants to be the question because Allen Iverson, we don't have to get into all this. Allen Iverson used to be kind of a problem, but he never did. I don't know if he ever did anything bad off the court. I just don't remember because it was 20 years ago or whatever. But his nickname for a period of time was the answer, because it was like the answer. Some people tried to give him the nickname like the question, because it was like, oh, is he really going to be like the best NBA player? He's kind of a question mark right now, because he's mostly probably known now for that meme of being like, practice? We talking about practice? If you know that bit, that's Allen Iverson. Because somebody once asked him if him not practicing with his teammates, because he like didn't go to practice or something, was going to affect the way that his team played in like the game. And he was like, really? We're talking about practice. And he just kept saying it because he was just so annoyed.
Because he didn't have an answer.
Well, but yeah. So he got kind of like a reputation for it, which he completely lost. And then they started calling him the answer. That's the bit here. And that's why Michael says he wants to be the question. And it's a fine bit by Steve Carell of doing like the question, the answer, back to the question. Like, it makes sense in that way only. But that's why Michael is doing this whole thing about dunking in the basketball games and all that stuff. Gotcha. Michael comes back up and he asks the office if they're ready for the big game, and they kind of all groan, and he said, oh, you'll follow me to the ends of the earth, groaning all the way. It's just the delusion that Michael thinks that these people all respect him is pretty great. Right. He makes fun of Dwight for being a nerd because he makes a Lord of the Rings reference. Yeah, and what did he say? Something about Gimli. He says something about the.
Well, I know it's Gimli.
He says something about like the.
Oh, because he said, "Follow me under the earth," and then he says, "Oh, the dwarf." He says the dwarf from Lord of the Rings, and he says Gimli, and he goes nerd, and it's like, yeah. Okay. I like that just to get under Dwight's skin more, Jim laughs at Michael's joke and is like, yep, that's him. When Michael's doing like, 10-point power, whatever when I make fun of Rachel on here. So then this is where we get Michael figuring out who the starting lineup is going to be, which is Stanley, of course. Yeah. Why, of course?
I didn't say of course. And then you get the Jim.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, so go ahead. Great. Sorry, go ahead.
Jim saying, "I heard it," and
I heard you say, of course.
And Michael just goes, "People hear a lot of things, man." Because he realizes what he did. He realized that he was stereotyping Stanley, and now he can't get his foot out of his ass or his mouth, or both.
No, I like both. Because then it cuts to Stanley. And he's doing
oh my god, this little confessional by Stanley is hilarious.
He's so good.
He doesn't even say anything.
nothing.
He
He,
doesn't-
just sighs and shakes his head.
He
and
goes
it's
to
so
say
perfect.
something and he just sighs. Yeah, it's so funny. Phyllis wants to play if it's just for fun, and Michael at first ignores her and is like, okay, Ryan and Jim. And Ryan wants to make sure that he's getting paid to skip lunch, which he is.
Right. But like Phyllis played basketball. She said she played basketball in school, so she knows at least what she's doing too.
Yeah, but again, it's Michael. Michael is...
I know.
He is a skin-deep man. He looks at you, and that's how he judges you. He does not...
Oh, we get that later.
He does not look at anything that you could possibly be other than that. So,
Right.
of course, he thinks Phyllis is no good.
Poor Phyllis. I love Phyllis, and she gets shit on so much, and I just love her.
Yeah, it's great. So Michael goes to check. This is only in the super edit too, which I think this scene helps with Michael being back and forth on if he can play or not. And he goes and asks Pac-Man, Todd Packer, if he can play.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Packer, not the right voice yet, not the right actor yet for Todd Packer, which we won't see until season 2. Wonderfully done.
Still sounds like a douchebag. Though,
Yeah, it's just not. It's not
saying.
perfect. It's just not.
It's just not the right
quite
douchebag.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So Packer.
The only way I could say it, because come on.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. 100%. So after some confusion, we learn that Packer can't play. I think because he's sick. Because he answers.
I mean,
the phone
he did like
coughing.
cough or sneeze or something. Yeah.
And he's about to say that Michael's a little bitch for not ever coming to the pickup game. And Michael, of course, immediately picks up the phone because he's been giving this narrative to the camera that he's
fantastic.
Yeah, that he's great at basketball and he plays every weekend. So now that Packer cannot play, he needs to find a fifth person. But first, he tries to tell Daryl that because he knows Daryl's busy, that they don't have to play. And he's like, "Oh no, that's fine. You know, we can play. It's fine. I'm not trying to get out of it." He has to kind of say, "All right, no, that's fine." And he comes back out and he's like, "Okay, we need another person." And Jim is like, "Okay, well, Phyllis then." And he's like, "No, because it could be shirts and skins, and we don't want that lawsuit on our hands."
Yeah, he saved his own ass by saying lawsuit on his hands.
I think Phyllis already knew what he meant.
We knew what you were saying, you ass. We all know.
Oscar volunteers.
Right.
And then Michael says, "I will use your talents if we play baseball or box."
Good job. Good job, Michael.
And because
way to look at the person and say, well,
Oscar is Hispanic.
Your race? Yes.
So, of course.
That's what you're good at.
Kevin says, "I have a hoop in my driveway." But Michael turns it down too. And then Dwight misses a fake shot because he tries to take a shot with like his masking tape or something into the garbage can, and he misses. And if you look at Rainn Wilson's face on this, I think he's gonna break. I think he's gonna laugh, and he's trying to hold it back because he holds up his hands like I was this close, but he's got like a smile on his face that's like almost not quite right, like he's holding it back. And Michael acquiesces, and he says, "All right, Stan, Ryan, Jim himself, and Dwight." And Dwight wants to be team manager, and he says, "No, you can be assistant to the team manager." And Dwight tries to use his power of having being
the schedule guy?
The schedule over his head. So Michael's like, "Jim, you do the schedule." So Jim has to
Which is
do
even
this.
weird, because it's like, well, Jim also is playing, but also has to do the schedule now.
Yeah, but he didn't want... Dwight was like threatening Michael that he was going to put Michael on the schedule. So now he's like, fine,
so then he didn't even
this.
want him to do
All
it.
of like he could tell what Dwight was doing with the schedule, so he's like, fine.
Yeah.
Jim, you do it. So because Dwight was being an ass, now Jim has more work to do. And it's work that's going to piss everyone off. Yeah.
Right.
Which I think Jim could figure it out. Like, you just divide the people.
Be like,
say,
is there
these
a
are the
Saturday
Saturdays.
you can work?
If you can't
I'm going to have you work on this
yeah,
Saturday.
Yeah. I don't think it's that bad, but this little montage is fantastic. So there's a little scene where Jim and Dwight exchange the whiteboard, After that,
well, they don't because
yeah, that's right. Because
Jim
Jim's
said
like,
he's gonna erase
I don't
it all.
want the whiteboard. Yeah, and then Dwight won't let him do it. Yeah, because like we said, you could easily just kind of figure it out. There's a montage of literally everyone in the office that Michael
doesn't get to play,
pick, being amazing shots at throwing garbage away. It's fantastic. Yep. And
I do love that.
Yeah. Even some of the characters that are never named and must have been cut in the downsizing are really good.
It's just silly.
I heard, and I can't remember if I heard this in this commentary track or a different commentary track, but Michael throws a piece of paper at Pam's head and goes, "Oh, off the backboard!" And Pam's response is, "Please don't throw garbage at me." And I can't remember if Jenna Fischer says it or somebody else says it about the Pam character, but I heard it on one of these commentary tracks, and it's all blurring together for me now. But somebody said that Jenna thought that was... The way she delivers that is almost the thesis statement for Pam's character at this point. Oh. Please don't throw garbage at me. And just, like, doing it in this very, like...
so sad.
Yeah, but, like... So, we've been talking about in this episode, or I guess in this episode of Shelf Life, we've been talking about the character arc of Pam. So that is what Jenna Fischer
and she
writers
does feel
thought.
Smaller and quieter.
She sits more hunched. Yeah, she's quieter. Right. Yeah.
And so the very thought of like it's just like please don't do that. Please don't. Like
yes, please don't throw garbage at me. That's the most she can muster for her boss degrading
just
her.
Don't do that.
Michael asks her...
Yeah, that much for degrading her and then continues to degrade her in the same freaking scene.
Yeah,
yep.
To wear, tie up maybe like a halter top, something a little more youthful to kind of be a cheerleader.
Yeah. Be our cheerleader.
Pam comes up with a good retort, though, that she can't cheer against her fiancé. And
yes, that's a good way of getting out of it if you just feel like you can't say no.
Mm-hmm. Jim says he'll do it. He'll put on a little skirt because he, of course, always comes to Pam's aid. And
knight in shining armor.
Michael, of course, being Michael, says, "We'll just try not to be too gay on the court." and Jim even gives him
constantly. The foot is in the mouth and in the ass and everywhere except for on the floor. Michael, good job.
Jim gives the Jim face to this, and Michael immediately realizes what he said. And then Phyllis goes, "Well, I'll do it." Like she'll be the cheerleader. And Michael says, "Oh, yuck. That's even worse than you playing." Which is another line that I would always say was, "Oh, yuck. That's even worse."
Right.
To whatever it was.
To no matter what it was. I just want to give Phyllis a hug, though, for having to go through all of this. Even the actress. I mean, he's got Michael, or I mean, I feel like Steve Carell must give her a lot of hugs after being an asshole to her. You know what I mean? Like, he has to be, like, such a jerk in, like, a lot of these episodes. He probably just, like, gives her a hug and he goes, "I don't mean any of it."
Yeah, especially when you realize that
imagine
Steve Carell is, like, this for all intents and accounts, I'm sure, who knows in real life, but they always make it seem like he's, like, a very sweet man to have to be doing a lot of this, just the world's
mean
biggest
comedy.
Jerk. Yeah. We haven't probably talked about Phyllis yet and how she got on the show. She was a casting director or assistant casting director with Allison Jones, and she read the parts with a lot of the people on the show, so she would sit in and do the other lines as they did the casting. And I guess they just kind of figured, like, why don't we just cast Phyllis, because she, like, is good at doing this. So they just told Phyllis, I guess, showed up one day thinking that she was going to do the backstage stuff, and they went, "Oh yeah, you have to get into wardrobe because you're going to be on the show." So that's how Phyllis got on the show.
That's kind of fun, though. It's like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Hey.
And now she's doing, I just saw today, she's doing Honey Nut Cheerio ads with Stanley.
Yes.
Did you see this? Have you seen that ad?
I have not. Okay. And that's actually amazing that happened, because think about everything that's just gone on. Mm-hmm. We just did freaking Munch Madness, and
not to date when we're doing this episode, of course.
No, but think about it. Like, Munch Madness was about cereal, and now The Office. Mash them together. There they are. So this is Honey Nut Cheerios, you said? Aw, look at how cute. They're doing like a heart health thing.
Yeah.
It's adorable. It's funny.
So Michael tells Phyllis in order to save this, she can't be a cheerleader because we need her to be an alternate. So suit up, you're on the team, you made it! So another, him just trying his best to save himself from getting thrown in HR.
Right, yep. Getting canceled. Getting fired.
There's a little aside from Dwight about how he wishes he could play against Jim because he thinks that he would demolish him. I wonder if Dwight realizes that he was totally wrong about that. He watches Jim play, and Jim's really good at basketball because he's tall and lanky.
Probably. I think probably.
Michael, like an idiot, decides to taunt Daryl, knowing now that he doesn't have Todd Packer, who he thought was his ace in the hole.
Ringer. Yeah.
So why is he doing this?
Why? Because he's Michael Scott.
I guess
he has to.
I guess that's as good an answer as any.
It's his. It's
He's
his
just
way
a
of
compulsive
dealing with
moron.
things that bother him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So Michael taunts Daryl some more, and Daryl is like, "Well, then why don't we make it more interesting?" We also learned that Jim and Pam make less than $40,000, so they're not making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
I like the fact that they're all like, yeah, I don't think any of us make that much money.
yeah. So Daryl says, "All right, fine, let's make it more interesting. How about the loser has to buy a round at the bar or has to buy dinner because he's getting sick of Michael taunting him." And
Right.
And Michael comes back and says, "Why don't we do the loser has to work on Saturday?" Because he thinks, "Oh, this is a perfect way to solve my problem," like an idiot.
Right.
And Daryl's like, "No, that's not as much fun." He's just like, that takes the fun out of it if you're making us have to like do something that the other side is going to like truly be bothered by if they lose. So he's like,
Right.
But Michael does the chicken shit again. And he's like, "Fine, you're on. We'll do that." Like,
Yep.
Daryl knows that these guys don't stand a
They're
chance.
gonna lose. And he just wanted to make it fun. And it just, God. Michael, of course, has to do it his way of idiot. That's it. He just has to make it idiot.
I can't imagine having to do something at work now it's almost like forced. You know what I mean? Like he completely sucked the fun out of it.
Yes. Now it's like just completely forced. Like it seemed like the originals were kind of like, yeah, it'll be fun, you know, we're gonna have a good time. And now they're like, oh, okay, I really don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Michael starts doing some high knees to stretch. He's stretching down in the warehouse, and the warehouse guys are all looking at him like he's insane because they're like...
Because he is.
Well, because he is. You should stretch before any physical activity, though. The Perkis system has taught me that. So remember to do that, folks. It's good for you. Dwight took the first aid kit because I guess Angela was going to take the first aid kit down to the warehouse in case somebody got hurt. And
right.
Dwight,
which makes sense.
Dwight has it.
Like you were saying before.
Yeah, somebody's always
Somebody's
gets hurt.
gonna get hurt.
Somebody's
It's an
always going to
office
get hurt. Any physical activity at an office, someone's getting hurt. It's a guarantee.
It's a guarantee.
Michael is trying to dunk, and he keeps missing the dunk, and then he finally makes one. And it's a good sight gag because Lonnie raises the hoop. And then he tries to just shoot the basketball, and he can't shoot for shit. It just falls like 5 feet lower than the rim. Jim thinks he can impress some people out there today because he played in high school, and you know what he's talking about, but it makes it a little funnier because like it's Jim, and he's like, "I'm going to impress some people." He can't say explicitly what he's trying to do. He's
some people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pam and Jim have a little back and forth because Pam says that Jim's going to need the luck. You know, they do like, she does like a good luck thing or something like that. Pam says that Roy's very competitive. This is where we find out that he wants to take the Wave Runners to the lake. And Jim wants to go to the outlet mall. And this is a very poor job of asking Pam out by Jim because he says like, well, since he'll be working, if you want to come with me to the outlet mall, I'll see you at the mall.
Right.
And she's like, I think actually that we'll be at the lake. So So there's this like little back and forth thing between the two of them.
It's hard to tell if he's trying to make it into a bet, like, oh, if we win, like if I win,
I think
you're gonna come to the mall
yes,
with me.
and
if Roy
yeah.
wins, you're gonna go to the lake with him.
Yes, I think it's a failed job at trying to do like a pickup sort of thing.
Yeah, because like
I don't
she
think
kind
that-
of trash talks him because he like, oh yeah, you're gonna need it, like type of thing.
At the
But
same
it's like,
time, I don't think that that's what the kind of character they want Jim to be, because you could see like that being on like some cringe TikTok shit of like, I'm gonna pick up this girl by like it's the Dustin Hoffman and Star Wars thing from Seinfeld, right? You don't remember this one where the guy bets Elaine, I think it's Elaine, it might be somebody else, but the guy bets Elaine that Dustin Hoffman was in Star Wars, and if he's wrong, he'll buy her dinner. And of course he's wrong.
right.
So,
oh yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
So he's like doing it on purpose. Like it's one of those like if I say something, it's the no matter what, I'm always going to win
Because I'm going to get to
situation.
take you out.
Because
yeah.
yes, so it's like, oh, if you win, you buy dinner. If I win, I buy dinner, right?
Yeah.
It's, or like whatever.
I think we're
it's one of those
thinking-
silly things.
I think we're thinking too much into it, because I don't think they want Jim to come off that way. So even if we can infer
He does
that,
to me, though.
I'll shit on Jim Halpert sometimes in our Office episodes. I don't.
I'm not shitting on him. You're making it out that I'm trying to say that he's a skis ball. I'm just saying that he's like making a bet, like if he wins that you should come to the mall with me instead of going to wave running with your fiance and
because
his brother,
he won't
who you're not
be
even able
able
to
to.
do anything. You're gonna have to sit on the beach anyways and do nothing,
Right.
While they go have fun,
Yeah.
right? I think his whole point is like, no, you're not gonna want to do that. You're
Okay.
gonna come with me because we're gonna have fun together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah. I could see it both. I can see it in those ways, but anyway. Secret weapon! Because here comes Stanley coming down the stairs.
Here comes Stanley.
He just looks so mad that he has to do this. We get a little PDA between Roy and Pam at this point. Jim looks away because he can't stand it. Dwight's outfit is hilarious. The
Oh my
reveal of his
God.
outfit is hilarious. He's got
that mask on that I think is supposed to save his nose from getting broken.
Yes, yeah, it's for a broken nose. It is a Rip Hamilton mask, who was a basketball player back in the day that wore this thing. He wore this all the time. So
I mean, I could see why, because it like is supposed to probably distribute the force to different parts of the face instead of just
well,
all
it
on
is.
the nose.
It's if you have a broken nose, you wear it.
Oh, if you have a broken nose,
Yeah,
then you wear it.
But then some
So it
players,
protects it.
some players like wore it. Rip Hamilton might have broken his
just
nose
always
one
wore it
game,
anyways.
but he wore it
He
all
probably
the time.
broke it all the time.
Yeah. So I do love the reveal.
So he's
of,
got that weird thing on.
I love the reveal of him walking by Michael. In the Superfan cut, you don't get this reveal, but I love in the TV cut.
Well, he's got the sexy anime girl too.
Yes,
so
he's
it's
got
like...
this made up anime shirt on. It's perfect. It's very, very Dwight. Even
Dwight.
Phyllis's outfit makes sense. She's got this like big flowery sweater on.
Oh yeah, I mean that looks like a comfy sweater. I like Phyllis. I like her comfy sweater.
They do a little huddle. They do a little huddle of who they're all going to take. And Michael wants to be on their best player, which of course is Roy. And so he just can't not let himself be like the center of attention by trying to be against Roy, who they know is the best player.
Of course. Yeah. Well, like the thing is like you'd kind of want to match up with size too. So it's not even like the best.
Yeah, Jim's
the
your tall,
best.
lanky guy.
Even
like,
if yes, and you want him to go against Roy, who's also like the same height, and he can at least like get around him and like do all of that. So it's like, Michael, you're kind of tiny in this group.
Yeah.
You do realize that, right?
Yeah, you should be on Lonnie or Daryl, and even then, you're not. They still are taller than you, but at least
right.
At
They're
least
still just gonna reach over his head and take the ball, like, because he's no good anyway. So it's not like he's gonna be able to jump and like sneak around and like be
again,
athletic.
He wants to be.
I know. He wants to be that person, so he pretends he is that person.
He's intimidated
doesn't
by
work.
Lonnie and Daryl doing an elaborate handshake, so he doesn't know what to do about that. Dwight takes his shirt off and looks like
of course,
looks like me if I would take my shirt off, pasty and
white
flabby.
dude.
I'm hairier than that, but you got that.
Thank you. Everybody wanted to know that one. Now everybody got a good picture in your head.
Rainn Wilson has more. He's got that skinny fat going on. He does not look as chunky as he does with his shirt on, but with his shirt off, he's got like that skinny fatness going on.
Oh, just like a little bit of like something.
Yeah, he's got like a little pudge.
I guess.
It's not bad. He's not like fat, but he has.
I think it's just his shape. He's got like a pear shape almost because his like stomach is a little bit wider than his hips are wider than his shoulders. So I think that might be what
I'm thinking.
What's
of.
hiding it. Yeah.
All right, so this was the moment that I wanted to mention. So Michael asked Pam.
There's a couple of good
to
spots
do
now.
the tip-off.
Once they start playing,
this
I'm like, yeah,
whole
let's do
section
this.
is gold. I love
This is good.
the whole thing of them playing basketball. They were told, like, there was a couple of beats that they were supposed to hit, but Greg Daniels told them just play basketball. So a lot of this is them just kind of making some stuff up, or them like trying to figure out what their characters would do. So I love it. I love this whole section.
We start with the tip-off.
Which Michael tells Pam, why don't you do it because you have your foot in both camps. And Roy tells Pam as a joke, he's trying to tell a joke, he says, tip it my way or you're sleeping in the car. And you would think that because Roy is way more athletic than Michael, that he would win the tip-off. But Michael wins the tip-off because I think Pam kind of tipped it to him because she got pissed at that joke that Roy made. So that's the...
Well, because she's, like, annoyed. It's just, like...
So that's one of those little things where, to your point, Rachel, where, like, maybe there's some subtlety there. But, yeah.
Even unconsciously, if she tipped it towards Michael,
there's
I think
no
she did it.
reason why Michael should have won that tip-off. And he tips it to Stanley, and Stanley dribbles... in the most...
Like a kid would dribble that has never played with like a basketball ever.
Yeah, he's got his one hand
so
like
cute.
out back, and he's like bent over and like got his eyes on the ball. It's hilarious. And Michael is so mad, and he's just like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me!"
Stanley! Oh. What? You gotta be kidding me!
He's so mad.
It's like, well, this is why you shouldn't just assume.
So immediately they lose the advantage here.
Yeah, right.
So some stuff happens. Jim takes it himself, makes some moves around Roy and scores. Michael's shouting at them the entire time, doing a bunch of stupid crap the entire time. I love the one where he says, "I usually make those," when he chucks it and misses.
He's just not on his game today. He's just not on his game.
What is wrong with me today? Dwight makes a shot at one point, and Michael's like, "What, Dwight? What's wrong with you? I was open," and he can't like let anybody else take any glory. I did forget to mention that.
Well, because Dwight gets it in. Dwight gets a point.
Dwight gets it.
So it's like, why are you complaining? Like,
I forgot to mention that Dwight is on the East German gal. and Dwight looks nervous about it. That he has to. He's manned up with. I can't remember what her name is, but whoever the woman.
I don't. Do we get her name? I
At
don't know
some
if we get her
point, I
name.
can't remember what her name is though. But at some point, you get.
I mean, it just kind of reminded me of Dodgeball. I don't know how to say her name. Her name is very difficult to say.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Dodgeball.
Yeah.
I've been. I don't know.
Mike calls a charge on Roy. It wasn't. And then he takes...
It wasn't.
He takes forever to shoot the shot. I love the little bit here, though, and I kind of want to know if Steve Carell, like, improvised this, like, flipping the ball, setting it on the ground, all this stuff.
Oh, I think he did. He must have.
And then he just completely overthrows the backboard. It's a perfect, like, nobody says anything. It's just...
It just happened.
That's a really good comedic moment. And then they all have to do like the little clap because
Good try. Good hustle.
Am I Michael Scott? I might just be a basketball machine.
Okay. When I am playing hoops, all of the stress and responsibility of my job here just melts away. It's gone. I'm in the zone. Who am I?
Am I Michael Scott? I don't know. I might just be a basketball machine. What's Donna Mifflin? I've never heard of it. Filing, paperwork, who cares? Possible downsizing? Well, that's probably going to happen, actually.
And he's just so bad at it. He loses the ball. All this stuff is happening. Jim hurls it at Michael once because I think he's getting pissed at Michael. So he throws it knowing that Michael's not going to get it. Daryl makes a shot, and Daryl and Lonnie do like a little like...
Oh, yeah, they do like a showboating.
Yeah,
like,
they do like some showboating about it.
It's great.
And Michael gets a little intimidated by this, of course, again.
It gets in his head.
Yeah.
It gets in his head.
Ryan takes a shot, so he tries to do like some
Yes.
like of it with Ryan, and Ryan like doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He just looks like an idiot. He's just like moving his head back and forth. This entire time, the rest of the office is just doing their work. They're not paying attention to the game at all.
Yeah, they've like brought down like notebooks and stuff to like continue to work while they sat with them.
I love the little bit of Dwight stealing the ball because he just rips it out of the lady's hands because he's an ass.
Right.
And then he like gets in her face and they almost start like fighting each other because he's like...
Oh my god. She pretty much pushes him too. I'm surprised they didn't call foul on that one.
They might have. Because I think a lot of this that's being cut out is Michael has decided the only way he's going to be able to win this game is if he keeps calling fouls. And they can't say anything because he's the boss. Or that's what he thinks, and that's what they kind of do.
Right. They're just like, whatever, you're going to lose anyways. You can keep saying it, but you're going to lose anyways.
Michael does a analogy here of how basketball is like jazz, and football is more like, but he thinks basketball is more like, do, and you have to be like smooth, like jazz, like that, who's that guy? Not the
guy who plays
guy.
He plays the swirly horn.
Yeah, it's a swirly horn.
I'm like, are you talking about a saxophone or are you talking about a trumpet? Like, I don't know which one you want to say here.
And then at the end,
then he says Kenny G. Like, what?
Not exactly the most prolific jazz musician out there.
Football is like rock and roll. It's just boom, boom, boom. And basketball is like jazz, you know? You're kind of... It's all downbeat. It's in the pocket. It's like...
So he tries to do this Harlem Globetrotter thing because he sees Jim doing...
Oh, yeah. Jim's just doing cute stuff.
He's trying to show off, so he's spinning the ball on his finger. So Michael's like, I can do that too. And he tries to do some Harlem Globetrotter stuff, and he's like doing the music, and Roy just steals the ball from him and scores, and then mocks Michael. I love that the warehouse guys kind of call Michael out on his shit.
Right.
I guess
they're way more down to earth than like a couple of the people that are in the
They don't
office.
have to fear being laid off. Like, I think that's what they're trying to get at. Like, Daryl would have... I
guess that's true.
Which I don't know if that's true. Again, it's like,
I'm surprised they're not a part of the possible downsizing.
They would be.
Because they would be.
So
the whole office would be.
But I guess...
That would include the warehouse.
So maybe I'm not...
So they might actually be. They might be. But maybe it's just...
So maybe I'm wrong about it.
I don't know if it's them not being afraid of it. I think they're just kind of like,
they
screw
don't care.
It doesn't matter.
I guess
because they're not... Michael isn't constantly down there. He only walks down there randomly.
Maybe it's more that they report to Daryl. I don't know if Daryl would report to Michael or not, but maybe that's that they don't report to Michael, so it doesn't matter as much, but I would think that
he doesn't micromanage them, so that might be part of it too.
Yeah, they don't have to deal with it because he doesn't want to come down there anyway, so they don't have to deal with like the backlash. That could be it.
Yeah, they have like a bit of a separation. There's separation from Michael, so they kind of can be a little bit more against him.
Michael calls a timeout, and in the timeout, Jim says that he'll take Roy. Oh, well, he first says that they're playing like a bunch of girls, while all of the women in the office are sitting right behind him.
Right, and they're probably better than, Michael at everything. We already know Phyllis is.
Yeah. So Michael cannot admit that he cannot take Roy. So even though Jim is like, I'll take Roy, he's like, no, we're losing. And Jim is like, well, I think Lonnie's on fire right now. And they cut to Lonnie, and he's like dead.
He looks tired. Yeah,
he's
like,
completely
okay,
gassed. So Michael's like, okay, all right, you're right. So they decide to switch. And because they decide to switch, Roy can't just run roughshod, and it's a little bit more like Jim's just kind of taking it himself, and he is a little bit better than Roy. Him and Roy are now playing really physical and like really competitive.
Yes.
This is where Roy
Right.
elbows him in the face.
Yes.
I think by accident. I don't think he meant to. Uh-oh, Rachel's thinking about this one.
No, I don't think he meant to either. Now I feel like I want to see a playback. Hold on.
Just gonna pull up the replay here.
No, I don't think he meant to either. Because it felt like they were just way too up on each other, and when he went for the ball, it just went into his face.
If anything, it's a little bit like
Might be Jim's fault. Jim's trying too hard.
Yeah, which could be true because he's trying to impress Pam. Roy doesn't
Right.
care. Roy's just there to beat Michael, if anything. Roy starts to get frustrated, though. Pam's a little concerned, but Jim gets a little even more physical here. He, like, kind of does the push-off shove to hit the jump shot.
Right.
And then he steals the ball from Roy, and he makes another shot. And Roy's starting to get frustrated now. So now it's on between these two. And Pam goes back and forth from being concerned and impressed. It's
right.
Like they're vying.
There's a lot of different things happening on her face. Yeah.
Dwight calls a double dribble, and then Michael makes fun of him for calling a double dribble, and then he immediately calls a double dribble. And like
right.
Dwight steals the ball from Ryan so that he can make the shot. And Ryan's like, same team, Dwight, but he doesn't actually care. This is where Stanley gets hurt, or Stanley like doesn't want to play anymore. I feel like Stanley just didn't want to play anymore, so I think he faked it.
Yeah, I'd believe it that he's just like, you know what, I'm tired. I probably just running back and forth. Like, if anything, I'm just passing it back and forth between guys. I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. I hurt my ankle. Take somebody else.
I love the moment where nobody even touches Michael and he just goes, foul, foul, foul.
God.
It's so Weasley.
It's all he had, and it didn't even work.
Phyllis scores, and I love the "in your face" that Michael does after Phyllis scores. And then, of course, he asks Angela. He runs by Angela, who he's making keep score. And Angela says, "You're ahead." She doesn't say how much or anything. She just says, "You're ahead." After all of this, Lonnie is lined up with... Oh, no, not Lonnie. I can't remember who the older guy is. Whoever that guy is. He's lined up with Michael.
Do they have his name?
He's got a name. I know that I think somebody says his name during the episode, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, the older guy in the warehouse.
In the warehouse, yeah.
Is lined up with Michael. And Michael is telling people what to do from the sidelines. Oh, before we get to that, a little moment that I think was cut from the TV version is Michael is on the sidelines and he's asking Stanley if he wants to get back in the game because Michael, I think, doesn't want to play because he's gassed. And Stanley is like, I don't have to do this, Michael. And Stanley or Michael just goes in a very, very matter-of-fact way, says, "You've been a big disappointment to me today. I just want you to know that."
Oh, yeah.
I love that line. I really wish they would have kept that line because it's really good. Of just Michael not understing that.
It's so straightly done, like, you're a big disappointment to me today. It's like, wow, okay, you're still on that? Jeez.
I love it because it's not that Michael was wrong to think that Stanley should know how to play basketball in the same way that Cartman thinks that Token knows bass. It's that...
Right. In that one, though, it was true.
That one just happened to be true.
That one just happened to be true. Okay, look.
But Michael's just disappointed in Stanley.
So poor Stanley.
That older guy is against Michael, and I don't even know if he actually bumps him.
I think it's like either the same thing happened like between Roy and Jim that happened here, or he's faking that it happened.
I think he did bump him. Like, his elbow is
It might have been just like a little bit.
But I don't think it's to the extent that Michael is making it out to be.
Right.
I mean, it's not even to the extent.
I mean, Michael's making it out to be like a personal offense.
Yes.
Like, you hit me on purpose.
Yes.
Like, all right, you weasel.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, because of this, Michael is like, nope, that's a flagrant foul. It was intentional. And you know what? we're just not even, we can't even play anymore. The game is over. The game is just over. It's so squirrely. It's unbelievable. Like, if this were to happen, like, in real life, you'd just be like, fuck this guy. Like, you'd be like, you know what? Sever me. Like, why do I even want the job here?
So dumb.
Angela tries to give Michael an ice pack, and Dwight's like, no, you gotta break it first, and he pops the ice bag and all the gel falls out. I love that for the rest of this scene, when the warehouse guys are intimidating Michael, you can hear them stepping on, like, the little gels that have fallen on the ground.
Yes!
It's good little Foley work. It's great. So he tells the warehouse guys that they have to come in on Saturday because the office was ahead.
The winners, and they were ahead. Yeah.
And they're like, no,
Which I don't even know if that's true. It's hard to tell if Angela just didn't care. And she's like,
they were coming back. They were doing a lot better with Jim playing the point guard role. Like, even Michael makes a shot at some point.
Yeah. But, like, with Michael out, too, I think they probably made a lot more points while he was out.
That's true, too. Yeah. Because I think when Phyllis came in...
So it makes sense.
Because Phyllis knows how to shoot.
She was probably making a bunch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have to deal with Michael being an idiot. So that probably helps. So they intimidate him enough by telling him they're not coming in on Saturday. So Michael's like, oh, come on. Like, I'm embarrassed that it was even that close, and that wouldn't be good for morale. So we'll come in on Saturday. And everybody in the office is just upset because, like, no matter what they do, Michael's gonna, you know, it's Michael being a bad boss again because he just lets the warehouse intimidate him to not do something managerially and at least make a decision one way or another.
Yeah.
After the game, Kevin is shooting shots, and apparently
it's Kevin, Ryan, and Jim, I think, right?
Yeah.
They're just kind of like,
they're doing the thing where you're just and if you make the shot,
it's like horse almost.
Well, if you make the shot,
around the world.
Yeah, I think he's he's going around the world, but I think he's just like, if he makes the shot, he gets the ball back. Whenever you're like, whenever you're warming up to like do pickup or whatever, like that's kind of how it works. Like if you make the shot, you take it, another one, and if you don't make the shot, whoever got the rebound can like just kind of shoot around then. So I guess
he just makes every shot.
I think that, and in the commentary they say this was real. Brian Baumgartner is actually really athletic. He's actually really, and he's really into sports. So he made, they said like 14 of these in a row. They just filmed it, and he just kept making it, and it was so great that
they're like, keep
that this. of course because Kevin looks like Kevin, Michael wouldn't pick him to be in the... And he's, of course, like, the best fucking basketball player they had. Like, he would have been amazing if he would have let him play. I love how long they have it go on, too, of just, like, having him make the shots. So he made, like, 14 in a row or something like that. Stanley and Ryan are cleaning themselves in the sink.
Yep. They're like taking sink showers because they're probably like grotesquely
like I think at this point it's the day's over.
Just go home.
It's time to go home. Just go home. Yeah, it's time to go home. Oh, there's a little fun part too in the Superfan cut where Kevin is dabbing himself off in the kitchen, and Angela's like, "You didn't even play," and he's like, "It was hot down there."
And he did play after. We know he was shooting around,
which is why I think they cut it out. It's a good joke. It is funny. It's funny for Kevin, but I think they cut it out because they put him shooting the shots back in,
which was better. Yeah.
Roy comes up, and Roy's complimentary to Jim here. He talks about how good he played. He calls him Larry Legend. Like Larry Bird.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, though, where it's like you're going to be kind of mean to each other on the field, on the court, and then it's like, oh, but you did good because we were actually like against each other. It, like, worked out.
Yeah, like, you know? I still think, that Roy is probably a little annoyed at how good Jim was, but he gets, you know, he's got Pam, and he's going to...
Little respect.
And he's going to take her into a tub.
Yeah.
That's what they said on the way back. That's what they said on the way
out.
I know.
I know, it's so awkward, but yeah.
And I think Jim gets upset because, he got to impress her, but
he didn't get her.
It's not like he gets her.
He doesn't get the girl at the end,
So it doesn't matter. Michael comes out of his office with Kleenex in his nose. I think to sell the hit.
I think that's exactly what he's doing. It's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to say, it's all bloody now. I have to put Kleenex up my nose. He might as well have come out with tampons in his nose. I think that would have been funnier.
Yeah, that would have been almost too over. Like, later seasons would have done
like
that.
Too much? Yeah, that's true.
Like there's too much blood flow, and Dwight's like, I'll go get a tampon from the women's bathroom.
Right,
yes. That's exactly
that
what
makes
happened.
more sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael says that because they're all like looking at him mad, and he's like, you know what? Nobody comes in on Saturday. And I guess he had like a thing that he had to do anyway on Saturday morning. So he's like, you know what? Nobody has to come in. And then
because he can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ends with the downer note, of course, of like, oh, all right, great. Like, we don't have to come in. And he goes, it's not like coming in on a Saturday was going to prevent downsizing or anything. So
Right. Like, okay, good job.
yeah, so he's
Good
like,
job,
all right,
bud.
have a good weekend. That's the end of the show. He ends up by saying, like, you can learn lessons even if you don't win. But they did win because they were ahead.
Of course, yeah.
So, Rachel, what did you think of basketball?
I thought it actually had a lot of good moments, especially like during the game. The game part to me is the best part of the entire thing. And like you saying that they were just told to play, if that's like true, if they was just told to play and they were just kind of like messing around the whole time being their characters, I feel like that added to it a lot. So I enjoyed that part of the thing.
Mm-hmm. Of the show, of the episode.
Of the show, yes.
Of the thing.
Of the thing, of the show.
So, one more little note here. The cold close, like after the commercial break for like the proper, like the epilogue, is Michael just chucking it, is Steve Carell chucking it across the court, and it goes in, so he makes like a full court shot, and like everyone goes like, oh! And, and it kind of in character, Michael goes like, yes! They cut it out of the real edit, but it's just like, I think it's funny.
But it must have actually happened.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my god!
Yeah, they said that like it actually happened. Because of course, like Steve Carell the whole time is just chucking it, because like that's the whole point.
Because that's the joke.
But it actually goes in that
That's
time.
the joke. That's great. I love that.
For me, like I said, there's nostalgia for me for this one, because it's the episode that I used to try to get my friends to watch it. It's the episode that I've seen this episode a lot. This is one of my more favorite episodes of The Office's run. And I think it is because of what you're saying, Rachel. That part where they're playing basketball might be one of my favorite like segments of The Office.
It feels so natural for them to just be them and like play and mess around and be funny.
Yes.
Like...
so it's a really solid episode for me. It really holds up. Michael gets to be cruel and stupid, but he also has to look like an idiot.
Right, so it's kind of like he gets his comeuppance at the same time.
Yes, exactly. And
which is nice, because he gets his comeuppance for being an idiot and being, like, saying the wrong thing and just being him.
Yes. So it works. It works very tonally and narratively because of that. So it's a very solid episode, basketball. See where it ranks on the charts when we get to the end of the season, or if it has shelf life.
Exciting.
If it has its shelf life by itself. So, with that being said, we will take a short break, and we will conclude. I don't know why I said it like that.
Conclude!
But we will conclude Season 1 of The Office with Hot Girl after the break.
The Purse Girl hits everything on my checklist. Creamy skin, straight teeth, curly hair, amazing breasts. Not for me, for my children. The Schrutes produce very thirsty babies.
And we're back. that popped
made
you?
me laugh.
Man, I don't even have to try. With The Office Season 1, the season finale of The Office Season 1, it is episode number 6. Debuting on April 26, 2005, entitled Hot Girl, written by Mindy Kaling and directed by Amy Heckerling. Rachel, before I ask you about what Hot Girl is about, you know who Mindy Kaling and Amy Heckerling are? You don't know the names. Well, go ahead.
I know who Mindy is.
Because it's Kelly.
Yeah, it's Kelly. I know who Mindy is because she ruined Scooby-Doo. I feel like embarrassed now.
I don't know why.
Because it just came out.
That's a good line. Amy Heckerling directed this episode. She has directed some notable movies in the past, as well as some television, and written some stuff as well. You'll recognize some of the stuff that she's directed. She's directed Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Johnny Dangerously, National Lampoon's European Vacation, the Look Who's Talking movies, and Clueless.
Oh, okay.
So she was bigger in the 90s, but I mean, some stuff that's on the list that we'll get to. I mean, Look Who's Talking 2, top of the list for me, of course.
All right. I'll make sure to let me move it. I'll put an arrow there for you.
Yeah, perfect. But yes, so Rachel, what is the premise of Hot Girl?
Okay. A nice quick summary will be, because I feel like I can do that with these, a hot saleswoman who sells purses comes to the office, and they let her set up shop. And shenanigans with men being men.
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
Pam 6.0.
Yeah. Yes, 6.0.
This episode, of course, guest stars Amy Adams, who...
would it have been better if they named the episode Pam 6.0?
Yes, it would have.
They should have named it that.
I think they should have named it Pam 6.0.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Amy Adams, of course, a very accomplished actress, multi-time Oscar nominee. I don't know if she's ever won. Has she won an Oscar at the time of this recording? I think she might just be a nominee. But she's been nominated like a million times. At this point in time, she was on the upcoming. She was in stuff. Catch Me If You Can was probably like her most Oscar-y movie at that point. But now she like gets nominated for anything that she's in. So it's interesting to see her in this. There's some episodes that are like that with The Office, where like you see like Idris Elba in like season 4, it's like or 5. And like, holy shit!
People just like pop in.
Yeah.
It's you know them now, and then you go back and watch something. You're just like, oh, I know that person. And it's just like, wow, they got big. Like,
I feel like this is one of the shows. Seinfeld had a lot of cameos too by people that ended up being big, but this is one of those shows where actors that wanted to be big in Hollywood and big in movies, I feel like they had no fear of going on The Office and feeling like it was small time because it was like a little TV
and
show.
having like a background thing.
Yeah.
You
know what I feel like a decade prior to this, Hollywood movie people wouldn't want to be on these shows because it was like, oh no, I can't be on like,
no.
Yeah. I feel like
I can't do TV. I want to do movie.
Exactly. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because it intermingled with Allison Jones being the casting director or whoever, but you get those cameos in this for sure. So let's get right into it with Hot Girl. I don't know why I said. I feel like I did like a.
What?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what it was. Where it's like Agent Zero of Kramer being on the.
God.
Michael is staking pens in his office and not listening to Jan, while he's supposed to be listening to Jan, and. So Jan is explaining to Michael that there is an incentive program going on where the top salesman is going to get a prize of up to $1,000. Michael asks Jan if he can pick the prize, and Jan's like, I suppose so. And then this is where you get a little bit of backstory on Michael, because he says, can the prize go to someone that was such a good salesman that he got promoted to manager, which is the story of Michael, because he's such a good salesman that they promoted him above where he should be.
To be the manager person, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why he actually has that position. Like, was there just nobody else?
No, I think it's supposed to be another commentary on corporate America, where it's like
or like he was really good at sales, but he's just not good at managing.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know if he's good at sales, honestly.
No,
because sometimes he does do sales stuff, and it's like, ooh.
No, we learn in the next season, you know, his prowess for that. At this point, he's just an idiot, so we don't really know. So yes, he is going to pick the prize for the top salesman in the quarter, I think is what it is. Amy Adams, playing Katie, comes in with a suitcase, and she starts to sell stuff to Pam.
Right.
And, of course, all the men in the office turn and look because it's, you know, a hot redhead is in the office.
Right.
And another one, I guess. And there's so she starts to ask if she can set some stuff up. So does this happen in small offices?
People try
Is
to
this a
solicit
thing?
stuff, and then usually you just kind of go, give me your card, you can leave now.
Okay.
I don't think
'Cause
it happens where they're just like, let me try to sell you like these things. It's usually something that actually is business related.
Right. Yeah, it's not just purses.
Right. Well, like we used to have where people would give us a bunch of, what is the word I want? Samples of stuff. Or like they would be like, here's like these
Sure.
things. You'll want to buy them from us later. And then that's usually
Sure.
what they
Someone
would give
that's
away.
trying to supply something to the business. Yeah.
Right. So
That I
usually
get.
that would happen. I don't
Not
think-
a door-to-door
salesman.
purse salesman. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. And
All
if they
right.
did, they either wouldn't unlock the door or they tell them, you can give me your card and
Right.
you can leave.
She would never have gotten into Dunder Mifflin.
No.
No.
Right.
Okay. So Pam tries to stop her from giving her spiel
Right.
because she doesn't want to hear it, and she knows that this is like what's going to
This
happen.
isn't really
here.
allowed
So-
either. Yeah.
Yeah, Katie is very, very aggressive, which I guess you'd have to be if you're selling purses for a living. But she's just like will not stop.
Yeah, even Angela comes up too, like to. I don't know if she's trying to help or if she's just trying to see what's going on and be nosy.
It's Angela, so she's probably trying to be nosy.
True.
You never quite understand why Angela's there. So
No.
eventually Pam is able to get out that she's just the receptionist. She cannot authorize her being here to solicit anything. And Katie's like, oh, well then who can? So we go back to Michael, who of course is trying to give a speech about motivation. Is this the first time we get the pan out and Dwight is standing there while Michael is talking to the camera?
Maybe. I think it might be.
Yeah, so like I do like that touch where now Dwight is standing there in his toady position, saying that thing that motivates people is sex and stuff like that.
I mean, it's true though. This is exactly his point. The motivation
but
is
that's because-
today. I know it was supposed
That's
to be.
because Dwight is so like primal and farm in a farm hand.
I guess, but if you go psychologically, that's usually true too. It's kind of like,
Well, true.
why does somebody murder somebody? Well, usually there's like 3 motives: money, sex, and revenge.
Drugs.
Now you're just doing rock and roll.
Pam asked Michael if Katie can sell the purses. And he's like, no, why would I ever allow that? Like, just tell her to leave. Like, I'm not going to... And she's like, well, I told her that you would talk to her. And Michael's like, no, just tell her to go. It's a salesman. Like, what do I care? And then he gets a look at her.
And then
So-
his whole
then he-
thought process changes.
Yeah, and then he's like, all right, maybe I should go talk to her. So, line here that is quoted a lot, or used to be quoted a lot by me, and my roommate.
All right, girls, bring it up. You're being infiltrated. Cock in the hen house.
Cox in the hen house.
Don't say cocks.
Cox in the hen house. And then the other one going, Cox in the hen house, don't say Cox. As Michael greets Katie. This is where we get Pam 6.0.
Katie?
Ah, Katie. Wow, look at you. You're like the new and improved Pam. Pam 6.0.
It's right to her face too. Just straight to her face. Not even something he says in the background, just straight to her face. Yep.
Yeah, and Pam looks so annoyed. Pam gets mad at him. Today, Michael says he will break some rules and give her the conference room, which HR was
Where
going to
HR's,
use.
yeah.
But he's like, we'll just put him in the hallway. And Michael hates
Put
HR.
him in the hallway.
Michael hates HR so much anyway that he's like, whatever, like, who cares?
Yeah.
I do feel like once you get a better idea of what the office is like, they wouldn't even have to use the hallway because the HR has that annex.
Yeah, they have like their own
In
room
the back?
anyways. They could just
Yeah,
turn around
they-
and talk to each other.
And and after the downsizing, it's just Toby anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't
This
matter.
is
anyway.
true.
Michael tries to tell her he is on the other side of the wall if she needs anything.
Right.
And he's really trying to emphasize it. He just is standing there because he's asking her if she needs anything.
Right.
And she doesn't know what to say. So this is the other side of Katie where Amy Adams has to play her a little bit of like the straight man, where she's not the crazy cheerleader yet when she starts dating Jim. She's not totally crazy, but she is kind of ditzier. as you learn more about Katie.
Which I think it's plausible because
it is plausible
just kind of
because
like that's her personal life.
And this is a more uncomfortable
business.
situation where she knows
yeah.
what's going on. So
Yes.
she's uncomfortable because Michael is making her uncomfortable.
From a feminine point of view,
Oh, here we go.
you you are going to put your guard up a little bit more. You're just going to kind of like understand the situation and
Yes.
be like, okay, I got to kind of watch this one because this is where this is headed. Okay.
Yeah. So because Michael won't leave because he's waiting for her to say she needs something that he can get for her, she's like, I guess a cup of coffee would be fine. And he's like, oh, I knew it. Another addict. Of course, like, there's nothing that, like, she said that would make you think that, but of course, that's the only thing Michael has to latch on to.
Of course, yes. Well, he's trying to be like, we are in common because you drink coffee, I drink coffee. Okay, calm down, Michael.
I think Katie is immediately regretting that she said that she would set up in this office today.
Yes.
I feel like in real life she'd have been like, you know what, I'll stay until lunch and get out of here, or so,
Right.
But I guess she didn't drive herself here, which also begs the question, Katie, what were you going to do if they did say you can't stay here?
Right. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Was she just like walking the street? Is this like a business section and maybe she was just going to each business?
I mean, it is an office park, so I'm sure she went to the other offices in the building, and there's probably other office buildings in the area because it's an office park. So, like, maybe that is kind of what her plan was or what she was doing. Michael thinks he's being charming. He even thinks that people think he's charming. But so he does not realize that he's talking nonsense and terribly flirting and making this woman completely uncomfortable.
Right.
Kevin asks Pam if she's jealous because there's another girl around. And
it's just like the way he goes about it too. He's just like standing right behind her going, you jealous? Like
well, my favorite this is one of my favorite Kevin lines because he just goes, she's prettier than you though. Like, just flat out tells Pam that this woman is prettier.
Well, I'm kind of glad, though, that Pam sticks up for herself here and says, you know, that's just a really rude thing to say. Like, you don't say that to somebody.
Kevin's further down on the totem pole, so, you know.
True, but at the same time, it's kind of like I feel like she might have moused away from it.
Yeah, that's true.
But she didn't. She was like, okay, you know what? You're being rude. Stop. Like... I already got I'm the old Pam. I'm not as pretty as this one from Michael straight to my face. Now I'm going to get it from you, and it's just silly.
We get a cut scene in the Superfan edit of Toby trying to conduct this meeting in this little hallway. I don't even know where this is actually supposed to be. It's like
I don't know because
it's like a closet. And
it's like a dead end.
Yeah. I don't get it. This is like
why do you have a dead end hallway?
And it's
like,
and it's very very comically odd. I can see why this was cut. Like it doesn't make any sense.
It's like too much.
Yeah.
Like you'd kind of like I think even if you were thinking about it, like when he says, "Oh, we'll put him in the hallway," I would have thought like outside, like in that hallway, like right outside the double doors is where I thought he was saying they can just go out there.
Yeah. I don't know if we've established the geography yet for that.
Oh, true.
So this
geography is even weirder.
This is like when Homer. This is like when the boys are fighting over the comic book and Homer's in this bizarre room on a beanbag chair. This is that room for the office.
Sense.
Yeah, this makes no sense. We never see it again. Kevin and Dwight are talking at the water cooler. So Dwight's learned his lesson to at least go to the water cooler to talk, even if he does bring his own water. So now Dwight is at the water cooler with Kevin, and they're talking about Katie. And
he's talking about, like, she's, like, livestock, though, and it's creepy.
Yeah, because that's how he views everyone. Everyone is some
animal.
Sort of farm animal. Yeah.
It's just weird.
They're trying to figure out where she's from, and Dwight says that if she was a local, he would have already had her, or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. And he says that she checks off everything on his list. Creamy skin, curly hair, amazing breasts. The breast part, not for him, but for his children, because fruits produce thirsty babies.
It's so gross. It's such an awkward grossness.
It's very gross. Dwight takes his glasses off and attempts to flirt with Katie by beating on a purse and asking if it's waterproof, and starts talking about the differences between... This is one of those where it's like, oh my god, this man is... We've seen people like this before at Comic-Con. This is a man that has no sense of social understanding or anything. He starts taking his shirt, pulling his shirt up, and like showing her his belt, because he's saying that it's also made out of like snakeskin or something like that.
I think so. But yeah, he doesn't. There's no like. I don't think he understands the social cues of her going, I'm just here for the purses. It's like you're asking weird questions. It's like
yeah. It's appropriate awkward though. It's not like too cringy. It's
until he lifts his shirt up.
Well, all right,
fine. Weird.
Fine, I'll give you that. Michael comes in when he does lift the shirt up, and he kind of forces Dwight out and gives Katie the coffee, and then he offers to show Katie around.
Right.
So he makes Ryan sit and watch the purses. And Dwight says that the perfect girl for him is actually the fake anime character that he had on his t-shirt in basketball.
Of course.
So as Michael is taking Katie around, he interrupts Oscar while he's on the phone. Just no awareness at all of what anybody's doing. Pam is happy that Michael has someone else to harass. Is what she means.
That's exactly what she said.
Yeah.
He has somebody else to talk to. Harass is definitely the right word.
A first interaction between Kelly and Ryan. Ryan is, I guess, selling Kelly purses for some reason. I thought that it was just supposed to be that so that no one would like steal the purses while Katie wasn't around.
I think that was the whole idea.
Yeah, but like Ryan's actually like selling it to Kelly.
Because she came in and he's like, "Let me show you this."
Yeah. He introduces Katie to Toby, and because Toby's actually, not suave, but he's just being a normal, nice human being.
He's being nice, yes, not creepy, not weird, just being nice.
He points out that they went to the same high school because she's got a class ring on. So that they have like a connection, and they start to like talk about how they both went to his slop who cares a. I'll say it in the way that Roy says it next season. And
there you go.
Because of this, immediately, Michael senses that Toby has a better shot than he does. So he's like,
right.
Toby got divorced, and he got kids too. And like just completely completely
tries to
down.
Make him sound gross and like not right for her, and it makes her feel awkward because it's like, what are you doing? And
yes.
She just leaves.
Yes, and Katie's like, I guess I'll get just back to my table now.
They do cut to Toby's kid, like the little girl picture on his desk. She's adorable.
Yeah, well, we meet her in the next season. Yeah,
right.
We get Michael saying that he lives by one rule: no office romances. But he also lives by another rule: just do it, Nike.
Well, of course. I find it really odd that they're counting her as part of the office, though. Like, she's not. She's a purse saleswoman. Like, she's a salesperson that doesn't work for Dunder Mifflin. Why are you acting like this is a work relationship?
I think it's more that the camera crew asked him about office romances because they can tell like Michael's like flirting with her. So they're like, okay. Well, like, have you ever, so I have a feeling it's more about a question. It was more about like
past type of stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Or like meeting somebody at the office. I feel like it was more of like the middle of
or actually meeting somebody there.
Yeah.
Or like if somebody else fell in love with somebody else in the office, yada yada.
I think that's more of, it was a middle of a conversation that kind of came up because of what they were talking about, and it was just, a funny takeaway that they had with it.
Yeah.
Pam and Roy and Jim are all eating lunch, and Roy...
And Kevin.
Yeah,
Don't
Kevin's
forget Kevin.
grabbing lunch. That's true. Roy asks why Jim won't get on that, meaning Katie. And
Right.
And Jim says she's not really his type. And Roy
Which is
accuses
funny
him...
because they are very similar.
Oh, well, he even looks at... So
Right.
Roy asks him, like, well, what is your type? Are you gay? So, it's the mid-aughts, so you were still...
So of course. Which, I mean, Jim just goes, no, I just like moms. And it's like...
Yeah, Kevin asks what his type is. He looks at Pam first,
Right.
subconsciously, and then he says, moms, any kind of moms, soccer moms, stay-at-home moms.
Right.
And Kevin, because Kevin's way more clever at this point in the run, says, stay away from my mom, and Jim goes, too late, Kevin. I like that little back and forth that
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
That is funny.
I feel like Jim and Kevin play poker together. Like, I feel like they do... They've hung out outside of work.
Right.
Yeah, they've gone to get drinks or something.
Oh, probably. I'm also kind of thinking, not with the Kevin and Jim, but I'm thinking he didn't want to say that she's his type because of how similar Pam and her are. So, like, if he was like, yeah, she's totally my type, it's like, well, yeah, because I know you're after my fiance. So it's like...
No, I don't think that Roy would have responded that way. I think that was just
well,
the
I know,
first
but
thing
I'm just thinking that that's what
yeah.
Jim is thinking. Is
Yeah.
like, well, I can't say that because she's too similar to Pam. And then, of course, Roy makes the gross comment of, I would do that if I wasn't dating Beasley. And it's like, okay.
That's a great thing, though. Like, yeah, where Pam just gets upset because of that, for sure. Yeah, I would date
It's
her.
like,
if I
one, we're not
wasn't
dating.
engaged. Yeah.
We're engaged.
Yeah. And Roy's just like, yeah. I love that it leaves them to awkwardly sit there and eat lunch then, too.
Oh, of course, yes.
A good dynamic to the relationship here, to be able to see, like we talked about in basketball, some of the stuff here. Jim says that he is Pam's go-to guy for problems, which is work and Roy. So he talks about those things with Pam. Now Jim and Dwight are talking about Katie, and Jim tells Dwight that Katie would be perfect for him. Katie gets a testimonial or a confessional and says that guys are her best customers because they don't know what they're looking at. And she makes suggestions and usually tells them the high-end stuff for gifts for their wives or girlfriends or something.
Right.
Of course, that makes perfect sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Jim convinces Dwight to buy a purse, like a mini briefcase.
Yes.
And then he decides to go over and lip sync the conversation with Pam. And there's a shot from the opening credits in this between Jim and Pam as they like kind of hover over each other. Apparently improvised by John Krasinski and Jenna Fisher of what the lip syncing was talking about. And they just told Rainn Wilson just go in and do something Dwight-ish. So of course he's like banging the
right.
the
He's gotta
stuff
test
and
the material. It's gotta stand up to like everything.
Dwight ends up buying one, and Pam says that it's very sad. Which, yeah, I mean, like it's so sad that they like think that any of them think that they have a shot with Katie is ridiculous.
She's just a salesperson. Like, let her be.
And Pam says that Michael's also been talking to her. And what are the chances that Michael actually scores? And Jim's like, not good. He's 41. He's losing his hair. And his cell phone ring is Mambo number 5.
Right.
Which I think they keep consistent. I think when you do hear Michael's cell phone ring in one of these episodes, it is Mambo number 5.
I hope it is.
They give Dwight a thumbs up for buying it, though.
He gets the scaled one. It looks like a snakeskin.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or faux snakeskin. So,
okay.
it is, he was
it's
consistent with what he wanted. Yeah.
And the way that he holds it, if you took the strap off, it could be like a little filing folder thing. It would work, okay?
Yeah.
Pam goes to buy one, and to be nice to Katie, I think, as well. And they're doing little chit-chat stuff.
So.
They're
to
getting
kind of
along.
give her a reprieve from all the men hitting on her, I think is kind of the other idea.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, of course, walks in to ruin it. and just totally ruins the atmosphere and tells Pam that,
Oh my God.
is this your lunch break or was that when you were eating food? And just makes her like walk out. The look that Pam gives
line.
him.
Oh my God, that line though, like that's something that that's like a line where like a passive aggressive boss would say. Like I feel like that was really harsh for Scott to say. For him to say,
for what we
because
know.
It was such a passive aggressive thing.
Yeah, that's true. He's thwarting his power in ways that he normally wouldn't because Katie's there. Yeah. So it was like a wow, okay, you're gonna actually like, give me like an issue with this one. Michael has bought an espresso machine, I guess, for the best salesman.
Yeah, it's the
and
prize.
I think he only got it in his head because of Katie and because he's like trying to impress her with coffee because he thinks she likes coffee even though she just
it's the only thing he knows about her.
Yeah,
is that she said yes to coffee.
So Michael talks about how coffee is quite literally a drug. It speeds people up. He's like, you hear stories about Dunder Mifflin in the 80s before everybody knew that cocaine was bad. Katie is on her phone behind him. She's not even paying attention to what he's saying at this point, and she looks annoyed. And Amy Adams is a good actress, so like she really does sell that annoyance of like somebody gave you bad news on a text message, especially for 2005. Like nowadays, that everybody communicates through text message, so you know you've seen this look on somebody's face. So like back then though, it might have been a little less common, but like that look on her face of like, shit, now what am I gonna do? Because her ride has
it was a very
her.
good that was a good look.
Mm-hmm. Michael volunteers to give her a ride. She immediately says no in like the most matter-of-fact fashion. I love it. And then she has to backtrack because she's trying to be nice and is like, I don't want to inconvenience you.
Yeah.
This is the social contract that people have made.
It's so dumb. She could just say no. She can just say no, and she should go with no. And women out there, if a man continuously asks you if he can give you a ride home, just continuously say no and walk away. Please, because it's just so creepy and gross.
Yes. Be very firm with them. Do not think you have to be nice to people.
Never back down if you think that is what you want. Just no.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to say no.
That's your shelf life
lesson. That
lesson.
is the situation. I'm sorry, but that's the situation I see here. Is that she backs down, and it just is like that's so gross. Like Michael, if you were a gross human being, because I'm a woman and I feel like I have to explain my thought process.
I'm too easy to ignore. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna slap you. It was so goddamn
I'm sorry. Was that your shelf life lesson for the day, Rachel?
Yes, you can say no and you can be confident about it.
Yes. Yes.
Shelf life lessons.
Yes. Just say no. To men, to drugs, to whatever.
Not to coffee. Always say yes to coffee.
I don't like coffee.
I love coffee.
Okay, where were we?
So anyways, she does back down, and now Michael Scott is going to give her a ride home.
So she sort of says okay, I guess, because I think she thinks she can get...
I feel like she can
get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim is pleased with himself for getting Dwight to buy the purse. He's very, very excited that he was able to get Dwight to buy a purse. And he tells Dwight he needs to put stuff in it so that Katie sees that he's using it. And then Dwight wears it while he works.
And he just holds it.
And he's like looking
over his arms and keeps...
Yeah, he keeps like looking like, is she watching me? Kevin tries his best shot by saying he's in a Steve Miller tribute band.
Right. And she just kind of ignores
She just ignores him.
It's like, okay, that's fine. That's probably the lightest thing that's happened to her this entire day.
Yeah.
Him saying, hey, I'm in a band.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then he just probably walks away, and that's the end of it.
Dwight wants Michael's permission to ask out Katie.
Which is weird.
Yeah, it's weird. But that's the way, he's this like little snitch, so he like has to get permission. I think because he knows maybe Michael likes her, I don't know. But Michael's like, well, you can do what you want, but I'm giving her a ride home and I can't promise anything won't happen. Dwight's like, well, promise me that it won't happen. And he's like, I can't. And Dwight says, like, you can't or you won't. And he's like, both. So, or whatever he says. So then Dwight's like begging. Right. As his inferior, he cannot promise it. And Dwight says, are you in love with her? And he says, it's too early to tell. Like this.
Like, oh my God.
The insanity.
This woman came into this office.
Dwight backs down.
Well, I mean, right. Which, I mean, he does do the shifty eye, so we know that, I don't think he's really backing down, but
okay.
He's going to be kind of sneaky about it.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that idea. Yeah, you're right, because he doesn't. He doesn't, yeah. Okay. Stanley buys a purse.
Yes. Which I assume is for his wife.
Yeah.
Because she says, like, she'll love it. Like, that's a good choice.
Mm-hmm. Stanley questions
that's
Michael.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, that because Stanley's doing what you would do if somebody came. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't.
He's like, I'll go look at it. Why not? Like, if there's a good one and my wife would like it, I'll get it. You know?
Yeah. And Katie convinces him to buy it. Now, I only know this because of, like, you and Mom, of, like, having seasonal purses and stuff. How many purses?
Mom has seasonal purses.
Okay.
Look, I'm not big on. I'm not a huge purse fan.
How long do they like last though? Because like I've had the same wallet for
depends. Sometimes
like
the material
decade.
falls. No, so like sometimes the material falls apart half the time, and then you'll have to get a new one, or like okay, this one's not working for me anymore because it's like doesn't like fit everything. Like I keep going back and forth between having a big bag that like has to be over my shoulder and a smaller bag that is like across the body bag, which is the typical one I use. So those are like the two I have, and usually I will only replace them if like a button is broken or like the strap like is worn out or like whatever. That's when I do it. A lot of people, yes, like Mom, you have seasonal bags where it's like, well, now the color matches, you know, and it's like, oh, it's kind of fun. It looks a little bit cuter. You have like florals for like the spring and summer, yada, yada. I just never got that into it.
I was just curious because
I never need a Birkin bag.
I wonder like how often do people replace their purses? Because like I said, my wallet, like thing needs to be...
really, then that would depend on if they really want to be in fashion and like the fad type of thing. Like, okay, well, I need to have the most like in style thing right now. Then they probably do that with makeup and purses and outfit styles and all of that.
Sure.
Hair even. So I've just never been super into all of it.
Yeah, because she's our video game expert over here, folks, not our fashion expert.
Look, I'm a giant nerd.
Yeah. So, folks at home, let us know. Let me know, because I was just curious as to like how well like does it make sense that Katie can get these people like buy the purses? Because like Stanley's not gonna flirt with her. Like he truly is buying a purse. Okay.
It also will depend on the outfit and the occasion. So sometimes you might like need a different purse. So like I probably would have a different clutch or purse for a special occasion. So I have like a black purse usually because I wear mostly black if it's going to be like a special occasion, or it matches mostly everything, I should say. Otherwise my other purse is like a creamy or brown like color. So like that doesn't match everything. So yes, if he gets her this purse, it might be like, oh, well, now it matches this outfit, or like I can take this to like if we go out to like a fancy dinner or yada yada. So that would also be a part of it. And it's all this is like because we don't have pockets, so we have to have a damn purse. It gives us these no pockets.
Yep. It's, really
Men
is.
get pockets and women don't.
Yeah, it's the only struggle that women have. So anyway,
stupid tiny pockets.
Yeah, pockets are great. Pockets are great.
Yep, and we don't get them. We don't get them. Not even a phone fits in your pocket. Nothing fits in your pocket. Wallet doesn't fit in your pocket. A dollar bill barely fits in your pocket nowadays. So
I really do want someone.
stupid.
There's probably an essay written out there about how that's part of the patriarchal, like how they're holding women back is because the outfits that have traditionally been worn by women are not allowed to have pockets, and pockets are such a great utility that it's just a because even on jeans, because all of you have to wear tighter jeans. Because that's how they cut the women's jeans. don't fit shit because the pockets are too thin.
No, the pockets are stupid. You can't even put your hand in it.
That's why half the time...
You know, it's like part of your fingers go into that pocket, and it's like, ugh, I can't
half
even
the
put
time the girls have
anything
to
in
put
my
their
pockets.
phone in
Keys don't
the-
even fit in my pockets.
to put their phone in their butt pocket if they want easy access to it.
And then it doesn't fit in there either, though. It's going to easily fall out of the pocket because it doesn't fit.
Especially if the girl's got some hips.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of studies and talks about the pocket.
So anyway, sorry, third rant here today.
No, I went on my... Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It was purses and pockets.
Purses and pockets, the Rachel story. So... Is that your upcoming HBO special, Purses and Pockets?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Look forward to that in the fall. Stanley questions why Michael is using the espresso machine.
Yes.
Which he's like, isn't that supposed
It's
to be
supposed
for
to
the
be a
prize?
prize.
Yeah. I love that Michael's
cleaned.
like he's gonna win anyway. So
Horrible thing to say.
there's the little moment where Jim makes Dwight say out loud that it's in his purse. I like that. I like that moment. Later in the background of the next scene, you can see the espresso machine, and it looks like Michael really struggled to use it. There's like towels everywhere. Like Michael must have just really
He probably almost
fucked up
broke the
using it.
machine.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. And then he asks Pam, how do girls her age feel about futons? Revealing that Michael Scott does not sleep on a bed. He sleeps on a futon. As a teenager, even, I was, my innocent self, for like a split second, I remember thinking, why is he going to make her sleep on the futon? Thinking that, like, he put the futon...
Like that's his couch?
Yeah. I did not get it, at least for a minute. I can like remember as a teenager, like the wheels having to churn of like, oh, he sleeps on the futon.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, it's kind of an understandable thought process too, where it's like you have a futon for a couch, and then it's like, wait a minute, you have a futon for a bed, and that's even worse.
Yeah, so he's even more pathetic. Roy stops by and asks if she's still mad, and then this is weird. This is weird even if Jim doesn't like Pam. So Pam is like sitting on Jim's desk as they're having this conversation, and then Roy starts tickling Pam to like try to make up. You're doing this on Jim's desk, people. There's a little...
Right. It's a little creepy.
Mm-hmm. It's
like, and not at work.
Yeah. Yeah, even if they weren't... Yeah, they're friends or whatever, it's a little bizarre. I thought that was very
It's
awkward.
a little too much.
Pam says that Jim is like a brother to her.
She's in denial.
And she hopes that he finds someone. That's what she thinks in her brain. That's what
she's hoping. That's what she wants to. That's what she wants to think.
Yes.
Just saying.
We find out that Angela's trying to buy a purse. She likes to touch things, and then Dwight.
Well, the feel of the purse is gonna matter,
Yeah.
I got some suede and fat, like velvet.
Dwight works up the courage to walk in and ask Katie out, and she blatantly says no.
No.
And
just a nice no.
No. Yes, exactly like you should do it. Just
exactly.
No.
And then he comes in and even asks like, well, is that like a no? She's no.
Yeah. Well, because he wants it to be like, oh, was that a no
good.
to not talk in private or not to the date? And she's like, both. Dwight at least backs off in humiliation here. He doesn't.
Yes.
He doesn't like color or anything like you would expect.
Like a gross dude would do.
Yeah. Incel-y Dwight to kind of do. And then we find out also that Angela likes various shades of gray for the color of her purse.
Nice neutrals. Yeah.
Michael gets Ryan's help throwing out the garbage in his Sebring because he has a lot of garbage just thrown about.
It's mostly like
Sebring.
Gatorade bottles, but yeah.
Well, and a lot of fillet of fishes.
Oh yeah, that too.
Which is another moment where.
How?
Which is another moment that I've had repeated back and forth between us a lot, which is there's a lot of fillet of fishes, and Michael goes, "That's over several months, Ryan," and Ryan goes,
"Months of like."
But Ryan
paper fillet of fishes.
Yeah, but then if he eats the fish isn't in there. It's just the wrapper.
It's still the wrapping. That's nasty and probably moldy. Anyways, what is Ryan saying?
Still.
Wow. How many filet-o-fishes did you eat?
That's over several months, Ryan.
Still.
That reaction has been repeated a lot in my life.
Still.
Jim, I guess because everyone keeps saying he should, and he watched the PDA between Jim and Roy, the office got really
And
weird.
he probably figures, like, you know what, screw it. Yeah, I'm not going to get her.
So he goes and he asks Katie out.
Shoots his shot.
Ryan tricks Michael into admitting to liking fake music. Michael asks what kind of music people like that are like his age.
Yes.
And so, of course, Ryan comes up with a fake band, the Gleeples or the Glorps or something like that. And
the Glorps.
Pam asks if Jim has plans for the weekend. And he says that he'll probably go see Katie. And he's like, just date stuff. And you get a zoom in. You get like the fast zoom in of Pam's face here. And Pam says they're going to help Roy's cousin move. And they start having like a menial, like awkward conversation now because it's hard to tell how Pam feels. Jenna Fisher does a pretty good job here of making it hard to tell if Pam is like disappointed that he's going on a date. She's surprised. It's that initial reaction of just like,
right. Like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Or if it's,
I think it's also like I thought you said you weren't interested in her, and
yeah,
now you are.
Yeah,
so that's interesting.
Yeah, good point. That's a good point.
But she doesn't want to say something like that, like, oh, I thought you weren't interested. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay. Like
later on, the camera catches Pam putting on lipstick. Yeah. And then she gets embarrassed that she was putting on lipstick. So it does kind of make you wonder if, because of what Jim is doing, if that makes her feel like she needs to...
Well, yeah. I think it's going to be... Here's what it is. It's probably a mixture of Scott saying that this one's hotter, and it's like the new Pam. Kevin coming over and saying she's prettier than you.
Right.
And then now Jim is asking her out, too. Are you kidding me? And now she's like, well, maybe I need to try harder?
Yeah.
Because, like...
Yeah, you're right.
So now she's starting to feel inferior.
The men in the office.
She's getting like all of these things.
Yeah,
that's true. And that's not a good feeling. It's not that she wants them to be attracted to her, but like being called out and being called like you're not pretty enough, like that's hurtful.
Of course. Yeah, it's terribly hurtful. Michael says to be a ladies' man, you have to pretend not to be a ladies' man, which is good advice. Another shelf life lesson for us all, I think. He can't figure out how to find her address on the computer, so he calls Ryan.
Well, that's because Ryan changed the system. He did a different file system.
Yeah,
for
he put stuff away in folders. Yeah, and he takes out like a map, like a paper map.
Yeah, it's
to try
like
to
here's
figure
my
it
physical
out.
map.
I love that he says that people say I have a very symmetrical face. Because I've always thought to myself, because I've heard people say that too, like as a compliment to themselves about being good looking. And all I can think is, doesn't everyone have a symmetrical face?
No.
Isn't that how people's faces work?
No, technically not. There's usually like small discrepancies in the faces. And a lot of the times
I have heard that symmetrical
they usually
faces
say like,
are
oh, symmetrical
more
makes you prettier,
yeah.
but it's not always true. Sometimes it's really weird looking. So like if you took your face and you made it symmetrical right now, you wouldn't recognize yourself and you might think you're really, really weird looking. You might be symmetrical, you might not be. But it's mostly the mathematical, like how far your eyes are apart and like the ratio of your forehead and your mouth and how everything is like actually put.
Wasn't that like a Greek thing or a Roman thing?
The golden ratio.
Yeah, where they...
is like one of those other things that show like how your face is actually ratioed out.
Yeah, and if you had like the perfect ratio, they deemed like that was what was more attractive.
That
like
is the most pretty.
They did like studies where people thought that like this was the perfect ratio, like in ancient times of that. Yeah,
it's like it's all the ratios and the mathematical features and stuff like that tends to be more attractive. And usually it's because if you go all the way back to like the times that she had to like hunt and like do all of these different things, it's usually because of like those features like are specific for usually those types of things. We don't need that anymore. So it's like that doesn't really count anymore, and we usually it's a lot more
complex.
What is the word? It's more complex now. Yeah, I think that if you have a little bit of a difference in your face and it's not completely symmetrical, I think that's actually nicer looking. It's more appealing than something that's perfect, because it's usually a little bit off. It's a little off-putting. It's funny that you keep like bringing these things up, because we literally just watched a couple of YouTube videos about this. So
about
it was
the
the stuff
golden
about
ratio?
the pockets. No, they never mentioned that, which I was actually kind of surprised by, but they were talking about the symmetry of faces.
Is that why you had all that? All those facts ready to go?
No, but I actually did do their survey thing that they actually asked for a long time ago, where they gave you a bunch of faces and you had to say how attractive they are. And in the middle of it, I was like, something is weird about a couple of these faces. And I went, these look like doctored. And I was like, I think they made them perfectly symmetrical, and they looked so creepy to me. Like, so that's why it's like having perfect symmetry can be really weird. And it's not just the symmetry, it's like you have to have all those ratios and stuff to make it actually function properly together. Otherwise it can be really weird and off-putting.
I see. I guess I'd have to look, because like I can't, because it to the naked eye everyone's face looks pretty symmetrical unless they have like,
unless they really truly
some
have something
sort of
different
problem, or like or if like that a lazy eye or something, like something that you can immediately spot, I guess.
Sure.
Dwight goes to give the purse to Kelly, because he's like, yeah, it's a mini briefcase. So I think I've put together, based on all of these episodes in season 1, from his comments in like Diversity Day up until now, that Dwight has a little crush on Kelly. I think Dwight has a little crush on Kelly.
Oh, that's interesting. That's possible.
I think it goes away when Kelly...
That's actually possible. Yeah.
Look at their interactions over the course of the season.
Right.
Katie, on the way out, says, "Goodbye, nice meeting some of you." I thought that
liked that line. That was great.
Line. Yeah, a great little touch to that line. And then she says that she doesn't need a ride anymore because Jim can take her home after, because they're going to go get drinks or something.
Right.
It's not the right parking lot for the office, if you noticed. So this is the season 1 parking lot, so it's not correct for what it should be. Michael has his final bit where he says, "Do I have a special someone?" "Yeah, a bunch. My employees." And so they leave on that note. And Jim does a good job. Oh, Pam looks at Jim and Katie as they drive away in Roy's truck.
Right.
Which she's got a look on her face like she's uncertain about the future. It's a strange... I can't read it. I can't quite read it. I know what we know.
We know where it's going.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but she does look kind of...
It does read as kind of like a...
Yeah, but she doesn't want to lose Jim.
Right.
Like what she has with Jim.
Right. Which I think she thinks she will if he ends up in like a relationship. Because...
Right.
Yeah. He's not going to act as fun with her, or they're not going to have time for each other. I don't think Roy really gives Pam a lot of attention anyways, so I think she's thinking, well, if Jim's in a relationship, he's going to actually give the girl attention, or the woman attention.
Yeah, and he won't give it to me anymore. We won't have enough time.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Which is sad.
Jim's doing it's a Toyota Corolla, be careful. Like, he's
trying
playing
to
it up. He's doing good self-deprecation and stuff like that. So, yes. But the episode ends with Michael saying that if he had the choice between a one-night stand and any of his employees, he'd choose his employees every time.
It's an everyday stand.
Yeah, that's right. It's an everyday stand.
So weird.
And that is the end of Hot Girl. There's a little thing at the end of the Superfan cut where Michael goes off on a thing about how great the airplane flyer is in the airport or something, but whatever. So Rachel, what did you think of Hot Girl, the season finale of The Office?
I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was as exciting as like the basketball one. I felt like that had a lot more pieces to it, since that was the episode before this one. And then this one kind of was like, okay, it's fine. It's more just like all in the office again.
Mm-hmm.
A little weird on the premise because this salesperson comes into the office.
Yeah. So it's a very simple premise.
It is a very simple premise of hot girl and straight men come for hot girl type of thing.
Yeah.
And other straight woman in the office feels like left out because she's being
Feels
crapped
left
upon.
out.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
though? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Pam
think
is
she would have
seeing-
felt that way if they didn't keep saying, "Let me compare you to this one. Let me compare you to this one."
Yeah,
Like,
it's interesting because Pam, in some ways, was happy because she didn't have to deal with all of their shit. But then in other ways, she was like, "Oh, I'm not getting, like,
I'm not as pretty, and I'm
yeah,
not getting that
and I'm not getting the
attention,
attention."
and-
Yeah, and Jim likes
Right.
her, but what does that mean about me? Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what does that mean about our relationship? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there's a lot going on. I feel like it does have a lot of character development in that way, in that idea. Like at least those two, they have a little bit more character development there, since Jim kind of gives himself something instead of waiting.
Right? Yeah.
In a sense, like that, he like actually does something for himself instead of just waiting for her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with your take on it there, what you said with the character development, because for me, this one is not a very highly ranked episode for me, or highly rated episode. I will give you, though, now that we've talked about it and some of that idea of, like, there is character development here that, maybe it is a little bit more than what I've given it, or thought that I've given it in the past. Because for me, this is one of those Office episodes that I did say in the opening of The Office, this show can be on in the background constantly. This feels like one of those episodes to me that is on in the background. You catch some of the
Yes.
jokes, but it's not as active. I'm not as actively watching it as
it's not right. It's not an
basketball or
active
diversity
episode.
day or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's okay, but it doesn't feel like a home run or whatever you want to
It's
say.
not as attention grabbing.
Yeah. And the other thing about it is, if they really thought, and they did, that they were not going to be picked up again, that this was going to be like it for them, was these 6 episodes, I feel like basketball and Hot Girl should have been flipped. Because
Yes.
this does
Yeah.
not feel like, if,
I see
if
why
you're
they did
bracing,
that.
yeah, because of the development that you get.
Because of the character stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Because now it's like a will they, won't they? And right now, they won't.
But as a season
they
finale,
give a cliffhanger on that. But I do think that it kind of flopped for being a season finale.
and if it was a series finale, it would have been horrible if this ended up not getting
Yeah.
picked up. But
It
as
does feel like it just like kind of fell flat if that was going to be
Yeah.
like the series finale.
yeah.
Yeah.
But as it stands, as it is, it's okay. That is Hot Girl, the season 1 finale of The Office, and that is all of the episodes of The Office. Okay, Rachel. So it's been a while.
Yep.
But
A
we
lot of
have
long work hours.
lot of long work hours, a lot of solitaire played.
Oh yeah.
But we have made it through The Office season 1. We have made it through all 6 episodes of The Office season 1, which means that it is time, once again, to do one of two things here. I can't remember how we did it with the last season of television, but it's time to say whether or not The Office as a season has shelf life and our season rankings. So how do we want to start? Should we do shelf life first as a season?
I think we should do the rankings
Okay,
first.
we can do the rankings
and then
first.
we say if it has shelf life.
And if any individual episodes have shelf life, we can also say that,
Sure.
because that's how we did it for the rest of the television
Yeah.
shows.
Which we kind of do at the end of each.
We kind of do, but we don't explicitly say if it has shelf life. Okay, so do you want me to do the rankings first, or do you want to do your rankings?
I'll let you go first.
Okay,
Because
I'm
I
gonna
think
go
I
first.
typically go first, so you can go first.
Okay.
Which I think I say every time, so I usually make you go first anyways.
Well, whatever. It's a trope. It's a
my
shelf life
trick.
trope. Okay.
It's my trick.
Okay, so I will do the rankings. Now, remember, folks at home, these rankings are fluid. They can change daily.
Yeah, honestly, if I have to do mine, it's gonna be difficult.
But in general, and I think that people like rankings. Let us know what your rankings are.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear yours.
And these are just the rankings within the season. If this was the ranking for the entire show, I don't know where any of these would.
No
would
idea.
Fall. In the 201, I cannot believe that there are.
I'm not watching 200.
I cannot believe it.
I never have watched all 200 episodes. I can tell you that.
Okay, so I'm going to start at the bottom because doing rankings, you should always start at the bottom, not the top, like some other podcasts do.
How dare you?
So, number 6, I have The Alliance. I think that it's the saddest, it's the darkest episode where there's funny bits in it.
Mm-hmm.
The Jim Dwight thing isn't funny enough for
It's a little
me.
weak for me.
Yeah, I think it's a weaker episode for me. It's very dry. Michael is mean in it, and even unintentionally so, he's still mean in it with the downsizing jokes and the jokes about Meredith and Meredith cries and stuff.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's too dark. Number 5, the pilot.
Okay.
It does its job. It does its job. It introduces the characters and everything, but it is very just kind of like, let's do our thing, let's make some jokes, let's show how much of a buffoon Michael is, and show the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Hot Girl.
Okay.
I thought there was some character development in it that worked just fine, but again, some awkward moments, but decent enough stuff in there that you can kind of go with. Number 3, health insurance, which surprised me. I always thought that I would have had health insurance lower on the list, but some good bits between Jim and Pam doing the different illnesses, and some good stuff with Michael trying to figure out what to give the office as like a prize and those type of things, and Dwight abusing his power and all of that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. The abuse of power is actually pretty silly.
Now, my 2 and my 1, I think I could flip-flop constantly. I really think I could. I think it just depends on what I'm looking for. I think both of these episodes individually have shelf life. These 2 I would come back to, as I said in the episodes themselves, or while we discuss those episodes themselves. I think it depends on what I'm looking for. I think Diversity Day is more quotable.
Okay.
I think Diversity Day has more hits, more jokes. I think that basketball overall has more shelf life.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think maybe just because it's fun to see the dynamics of them playing the game with each other. It's almost like, I think this is why. I don't know if this is true or not. I know I'm taking too much time.
It's fine.
I think it's because they're working as a team, as an office. And when you learn to love these characters, so like going back to it, it's like nice to see them doing that. And Michael gets comeuppance in a way, all that kind of stuff. And he does in Diversity Day too, which is why I like those as well. So I'm putting Diversity Day 2 and Basketball 1.
Okay.
But if you come back to me in a week and then you tell me to rewatch them, they could flip. But I think that's my list.
Okay.
Rachel?
So I'm going to mark my list from cringiest to most engaging.
Okay.
That's how I will tell. That's exactly how I'm putting it in my tier. And I'm going to start with The Alliance and then the Hot Girl. They're both very cringy to me.
Okay.
Because I just feel like what happens in them just kind of like.
So you have Hot Girl 5 and Alliance 6?
No, I have The Alliance, then Hot Girl, but I mean.
Okay.
Kind of interchangeable because they're just kind of both a little too cringy. Then I have Healthcare, which was kind of like in the middle road. You know, it's a little tongue in cheek because it's like. Why would Dwight be doing the healthcare?
Oh yeah, I did forget that we had an hour-long conversation about that.
Considering it's like we kind of know so much. So it's an absurd. So yes, cringy, absurd, engaging. Yes, perfect. Okay. Right. So then I have.
She was doing the hands thing with the rankings,
for the rankings.
Yes, for the audio podcast.
And shut up. And so that's like where I put healthcare, just because it's kind of absurd and just wacky. Then I put the pilot because it is grounded. It is The Office. It is where it's going to go. Then I have Diversity Day because it is an engaging episode. A lot of goofy crap and comeuppance, which I've said before, I do like that he gets his comeuppance in the show. And then I liked basketball the best. And I'm going to just say it outright that way because I find basketball just funny and fun and interesting. It's got a lot, like,
fun.
it's got action. It's got the warehouse guys and the front end. And it's just like, it's fun to see the dynamic.
Yeah, it's the most fun.
Yes. So that's my list.
Okay.
So cringe, absurd, engaging.
So, Rachel, I'll make you start this time. Does season 1 of The Office have shelf life?
I'm going to say yes.
This was,
because
folks
I feel
at
like...
home, this was a question when we were booking the show. This was like, oh boy, what's Rachel going to say? So let's hear her out.
It's fine. Well, because if I look at my list and I say how I actually set it up, yeah, there was a couple episodes that kind of fell flat for me in the season. But overall, I mean, it was enjoyable. And I felt like you could kind of, as an adult who has been in an office situation, it's relatable. So it's, and at least it was just a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
That's my reasoning.
There's your reasoning. Okay, so The Office has shelf life for Rachel.
What do you say?
What say you?
What say you, Kevin?
Yeah, I own the DVD.
Yeah, no shit. It's already on the shelf.
That doesn't necessarily mean it has shelf life. I own DVDs of stuff
and some of them are in the box.
And some are in the box, and some of them should probably be sold, but I can't get rid of anything because I'm a hoarder.
That's right.
It has shelf life for me. Even as I think there are seasons of The Office that probably don't.
We'll find out later.
Might
That's
find
what I know. You're saying that I'm controversial when it comes to if it's on the shelf or not with this one, but you'll see.
This for me though is not peak Office. It's still very funny. It has nostalgia for me. It's still witty. It's still clever. The script,
and they push boundaries a little bit.
They do,
but in like a clever, witty way.
Yeah. And it's still funny. Like it still works. It's a very easy show to put on. These 6 episodes you can put on, and some of them more than others. But this season you can stick that DVD in and you could play it, and it's still for sure shelf worthy. Has that shelf life for me. Yeah, I think that's all that needs to be said.
That's
really,
it.
is that it has shelf life. So yes, we are raking it up, and we're getting our mint chocolate chip and whatever else Michael Scott things that you could possibly think of.
And in the wonderful words of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh yes,
we will attack from the
north.
We'll
attack you from the north. so, Rachel, it's been a long couple of shelf life episodes, at least, to get through this. Any final thoughts about the first season of The Office?
No. I think that's.
I think
that's a wrap.
I think we've said we've said everything that we needed to say.
Yeah.
So eventually we'll end up back in Scranton, and we'll find out what happened to be able to get that second season of The Office. Because as we said at the end of Hot Girl, they weren't sure that they were coming back.
Right.
And there's
Which is
an interesting story about how they were able to secure that second season. But yes, that is The Office Season 1. Cross it off the list. It has shelf life. I am Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this has been Shelf Life! That was terrible.
We're keeping it.
Mint chocolate chip would be good. How about some mint chocolate chip?